Hello and welcome to Martyn Lucas Investor. My name is Sensei and you're watching the coverage on Martyn Lucas Investor about XRP Community Day. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Can everyone let me know in the chat, can you see me live? Am I live right now? Let me know. Can you guys see me live? Let me know. I want to see yeses or nos in the chat, and then we're going to have Brad Garlinghouse live on the show in about 10 minutes time. So let me know, can you see me live? Oh, Yolanda, love the suit. Thank you. So you can see me live. I'm not sure why YouTube Studio is not showing me live. Yes, I think we're in. We're live. Cool. Thank you guys. Potato Family says, looking sharp, Sensei. Yeah, it's XRP Community Day. It's the favorite time of year. So let's get into all of the schedule, what I'm doing, my preparation. Wowza, Martyn sent me. Yes, everyone's coming in now. Everyone's now coming in. Brilliant. Everyone's coming into the show. Okay, well, we're about 10 minutes. You are live. Thank you, Christian. Let's go over to the live chat for a second. We've got full coverage today. Good to see you. Yes, Sensei, all good. Christian's here. Spartan, you are live. William says Martyn sent me. Simon's here. Guys, everyone has tuned in to XRP Community Day. We are going to be kicking the day off in 8 minutes and 23 seconds. What's going on? Well, we've already had the build up with Martyn. You're now live with me here, over here. There's two of me there. That's confusing. And then we've got the EMA session. So that's what's starting now. We are starting with the Europe, Middle East, and Africa sessions. And who is going to kick this off? Well, it's all going to be kicked off by Brad Garlinghouse discussing the era of capital markets. So we're keeping our eyes on X because this is going to be on their X Spaces. So that's where we'll bring the coverage for you. We've got everything prepared here, waiting for that to kick off in about 7 minutes' time. Let me put that timer on the screen so you know as well. Is everyone excited for today? Is everyone excited? Say yes or no in the chat. Are you excited for XRP Community Day? It's kicking off in 7 minutes' time. Yes or no in the chat. Yes or no in the chat. I'm going to do pump or dump as well. I'm going to do a little poll as well. I'll give you my thoughts on the charts as well in a second. Yes. Everyone's excited. I love it. The price is down, and now we're going to get, I think, a big announcement on utility of XRP as well. We've got a surprise guest joining the Ripple Spaces as well, which will be very exciting to see who that is. Let's go over to our sort of cheat sheet for today as well, which gives us more information about the sessions. We've got in 6 minutes time. So I want everyone to start hitting the like button. Everyone, please start hitting the like button. It takes 1 second. It gets everyone into the show. Hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so already. Everyone smash that like button because we're about to start with Brad Garlinghouse. So Ripple CEO sets a narrative tone for the entire event. So let's see what Garlinghouse will say. Let's see if he talks about the lawsuit. Let's see if he tells us about the acquisition. Let's see if he calls XRP the heartbeat of Ripple. That's what we want to hear. That's what I think we're going to hear. We're going to see for any new partnerships, any XRP buybacks potentially. Let's see what they're going to do with that big treasury they have at Ripple. Are they going to continue to sell it, or are they going to make some surprise announcements? And then the session 2 is where we actually have the highest impact story. Why? Well, because we've got a potential special guest to be announced. Is that BlackRock? I don't know. It might be. This is all about XRP. This day is not about Ripple. It's not about crypto. It's about XRP and how its utility will send it to some of those price targets we have. Remember, Again, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not calling for $1,000 XRP. I'm not calling for $100 XRP. I like XRP's utility. I like Ripple and how they use XRP. I like the fact that they call it the heartbeat of the company. So for that reason, I want to be invested in XRP. And a day like this, it couldn't be more important because it's all about the utility of XRP. Remember, when you buy XRP, you're not investing in Ripple, the company. There still needs to be utility for XRP's price to go up. So we've got the charts as well on the screen. So let me bring that for you. We're looking at XRP currently at $1.37. We have a big level, 138. Above it, we're great. Below it, we're not so great, but it just means buying opportunities. I'll tell you all about that after our first event with Brad. But we've got the chart on the left-hand side as well. Let me see. Was everyone excited? Has everyone hit the like button? Let's go over to live chat. So, need a breakdown for dummies? Well, if you had the newsletter this morning, you had the full PDF, which tells you what's the highest impact stories, what's going on, what to expect, what to look out for, so you can follow along. When Few Sensei looking fine. Thank you, Susan Swatford. Very, very kind. I'm not sure why that one's looking a bit weird. This camera here. Let me just turn up that a little bit. A 20% pump would see me good out. Target hit 1 billion per XRP, says yes then win. I love it. Everyone's excited. Okay. Oh, I saw a few love hearts behind me. Some of you guys are hitting the reactions as well. 78 likes. Martin got 200 in a minute. Come on, guys. Smash the like button for Sensei. Thank you, Christian. What's everyone doing? This is the best day of the year. It's XRP day. Let's put on some music. Let's get the likes up. XRP full coverage starting in 3 minutes and 30 seconds. Smash the like button if you've already hit the like button. Guys, remember, if you already hit the like button, there is an additional like button. You can do reactions as well. Okay, let me keep an eye out on Ripple. Here we go, we've already got the link. Let's get in there. Like a phoenix, you burst in a fire burn. A thirst and desire, you transform right up in a flash. You spread your wings to rise from the ashes. Phoenix, you burst in a fire burn. A thirst and desire, you transform right up in a flash. You spread your wings to rise from the ashes. Guys, can everyone hit the like button? The event is starting up now.
Get ready for Burst 2 Electric You see the truth behind the veil, and you know that they're just looking for.
Oh, we've already got our first super chat. We are 1 minute and 42 seconds away from Brad. Wow, thank you so much for the super chat. Here we go. Let's smash those like button. Let's smash the like button. 1 minute and 29 seconds away from Brad. We've got the X Spaces already started. They're playing some music right now, and we'll get straight into it. We're covering the whole day. It starts with Brad, but it only gets better. Okay, there we go. Let's listen in to the spaces. Remember, this is the EMEA session. Let's see if they're still playing music. Yes, they are. We are waiting. It's about 50 seconds away now. So let me tell you again what we're doing today's show. We've got the full coverage for you. We've got 14 XRP specific sessions. We've got the price action on the charts. I'm going to give you my technical chart analysis. I'm going to tell you my bull market plan. All of that is coming up in today's show, but we're starting the show off with Brad Garlinghouse, which is probably one of the highest impacts, and then potentially BlackRock next. With a surprise announcement. So let's get into this. Let's see if we've got volume coming in. Nope, they're still playing their music. Let me keep an eye on everything here as well. Okay, any second now we'll have Brad Garlinghouse taking the stage. We'll be covering the full days of XRP Community live on this show. So here we go. Let's see if they've started on time. Still waiting with some very weird audio at the moment. It's like we're doing an earnings call. Let me listen in over here as well. Yeah, nothing yet. Okay, any second now, it will be starting with Brad. Oh, we might have it now. They've stopped the music. They've put themselves on mute. That means we're starting any second. Brad Garlinghouse has entered as a speaker. Here we go. Here we go. Look at that. You can see it is in X Spaces. We've got Brad Garlinghouse right above my head. And he's about to take the stage.
Welcome, everybody. This is Brad Garlinghouse. I am excited to be here, excited that all of you are here. But welcome to our second annual XRP Community Day. This really is a day that's meant for all of you, XRP holders, XRP enthusiasts, XRP builders, any XRP users, and frankly, everyone in between who is part of this XRP family. Sometimes the XRP army, depending upon the topic. But this is about hearing from the whole community, starting with us here at Ripple and from me, but also hearing from people building on the XRP ledger, hearing from people around XRP ETFs, exchanges, digital asset treasuries, and frankly, so many others who believe in the utility and the long-term, very transformative opportunity of XRP. For those of you, this is your second time around. We had over 250,000
Guys, stay with me. That's not an issue on our end. We're just waiting for that to connect again.
Brad, I believe we may have lost your audio.
We're waiting for a connection from Brad Garlinghouse. We've just lost his audio. Stay with us. Brad Garlinghouse has taken the stage. And then in possibly 27 minutes time, we might have BlackRock on the show. So we've lost Brad Garlinghouse's audio. This is not on our end. That is on Brad's and Ripple's end. So stay with us. This is very exciting. A full day, 14 sessions of XRP utility related talks. This is the days I like. We're going to go into the, especially when XRP is trading near $1. I mean, if we get some real great announcements today, I still think we're going to have a secondary flush later this year, but it means my investment thesis on XRP stays or gets better, meaning I might want to buy some more. Oh no. They've started playing music again. They're having technical difficulties. Here we go. Brad is back.
Okay, I'm told you guys lost me at some point there. Maybe somebody give me an indication that you can hear me now.
Yeah, we can hear
you. Hi, Brad.
You.
This is Tony. Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, great. I guess you guys, well, Tony, you tell me, what did you lose during that intro? I can rewind as needed.
I believe you were speaking on the utility around XRP, such as ETFs, digital asset treasury, and then you cut off.
Oh, so the very beginning. All right. So anyway, the point being that we've got a bunch of different speakers today from across the XRP ecosystem, representing exchanges, ETF issuers, digital asset treasuries. Last year, some of you guys remember, we had 250,000 listeners. I'm excited to see what we have this year. I'm going to skip a little bit, it's just an extra time, but look, Tony Edward, I think, needs no introduction. I assume many of you know him from Thinking Crypto, which truly is one of the most popular crypto podcasts. But we're going to talk about the macro view for all.
This isn't off to a great start, is it? Brad Garlinghouse, we've lost his audio again.
I think we lost your audio again, Brad.
We've lost Brad's audio. I hope this isn't a recurring theme of today, because that could be a bad marketing situation. I know that there's lots of issues with X Spaces. I don't know why they opted for X Spaces, but
Tony, we got
hopefully
you?
this is.
Yes. Okay. So, Brad, you cut out there again.
Maybe I'm going to switch to my laptop off my phone. I'll be right back.
No problem. Good morning, everybody. Hope you're all doing well. Excited for this conversation with Brad. And of course, the title of this session will be The Era of XRP in Capital Markets. So thank you all for joining. And we'll let Brad get connected on his laptop here.
Someone just told me to put
has
50p
been
in the meter. It's
notorious
not
for
me.
having some
Tell
issues.
Brad to
It's
put
kind of
50p
buggy,
in the meter.
as I'm sure many of you have experienced. So we'll just give him a few minutes to get connected.
Guys, we are live with XRP Community Day. 14 sessions we're covering today. We're going to be live for over 12 hours, different sessions. There will be breaks in between, so don't worry. Time to have some lunch, time to have some coffees. But right now, we are in the thick of it. Brad Garlinghouse is about to take the stage. Again, he's just had an issue. God, I don't know why they like to play this audio in the middle. Anyway, yeah, Brad is going to change his device. He'll be back in a second. Then what we will have is potentially BlackRock. They've said they've got a special guest, a special announcement, a special guest. So who could that be? Well, people are speculating now it could be BlackRock. So we'll keep an eye on that. We'll be covering that event. We're going to cover all 14 sessions. Again, as an XRP holder, I'm not a moon boy saying we're going to $1,000. I'm not a bear saying XRP is the only good thing out there. I am here to see profits in XRP, $5, $10, $15, $20, and that all requires good utility. I think we've got Brad.
Last time we spoke was in Miami at Ripple Swell, I think a couple of years ago.
I remember it well, and
we can't hear Brad Miami properly.
Was, I thought, a special one. We're obviously glad to be back here in New York for them now, but thank you for doing that. And I've talked to you a couple times, obviously, so I look forward to this and more in the future.
Absolutely. So, Brad, I believe the first and most important question I need to ask you, and maybe top of mind for many folks, are you planning to flip any switches soon?
Look, I do like this question because I'm always a little bit humored. And the way I think about this is, if there was one magic switch, I promise you I would have flipped it. The way I think about this is there's a culmination of thousands of switches. And those are switches being turned by Ripple. Those are switches being turned by the community represented here, by all the different small pieces that collectively, I think, have an exponentially increasing impact. And so, look, I'm as bullish and optimistic as anyone when I think about the opportunity for XRP. I promise you that if there is a switch to flip, I certainly would.
By the way, I was just talking XRP. About maybe some of the switches at the Ripple office or at your house. So, but on a more
there are light switches everywhere.
Yeah, but on a more serious note, Brad, before we get into all things Ripple and XRP, I have to ask you about what happened in the global markets last week. What do you make of this drawdown, and how does it compare to the past cycles?
That's an important question. And look, I as I tweeted out kind of in the middle of it, whenever I see people being exceptionally fearful, I feel greedy. Whenever I see people being really greedy, I feel fearful. But last week was a bloodbath. And, certainly markets have stabilized, are now recovering to some degree. I do want to zoom out a little bit and put this into context. Look, there are a lot of smart people, many of them on Twitter. Silver and gold were down, I don't know, somewhere between 12 and around 15%, as a sell-off. Certainly, crypto this year has tracked some of the U.S. equity markets around software, and particularly some of the AI stuff. And then if you zoom out kind of to your question, the drawdown is comparable to the 22 bear cycle, but it's actually done better than that. BTC ended down 48% versus 77% in the 22 bear cycle. And look, XRP this year is the best of the major cryptos. It's, other than Bitcoin, it's the best performing kind of year to date. The other thing I'll point out is that since the Trump election, XRP is by far the best performing of the major crypto assets, up about 170%. Yeah, Bitcoin's basically flat
Guys,
since
Brad
the
is
Trump
super
election.
bullish.
So, I do, as frustrating as that bloodbath was and kind of continues to be to some degree, I think it's important to zoom out and look at the broader landscape as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. And markets are cyclical. We've seen this many times in this asset class, and it's the same for the stock market and other asset classes as well. But Brad, on that note, you joined Ripple in 2015, and a lot has changed since then. We've seen certainly some arduous pain points, within the crypto industry, especially under the Gensler regime. But how do you feel about the growth the industry has seen over time?
I think that kind of gets to the zoom out point. And, when I joined in 2015, I first got involved in crypto in 2012 and, got obviously more involved when I joined Ripple in 2015. And again, that was, although it's been 10 years, in the grand scheme of things, 10 years really isn't that long when you think about money, when you think about currency, when you think about financial infrastructure. 10 years actually isn't that long. And honestly, had you told me 10 years ago when I joined Ripple that, we'd be having these crypto conversations on a global stage, on certainly a national stage, that you'd literally see Congress actively debating, as I think has been well covered. There was a meeting at the White House yesterday where Stu Alderodi, our chief legal officer, represented Team Ripple. Those are things I definitely would not have predicted 10 years ago. So now we've got a long way to go, and I certainly don't want to gloss over that. But these are massive markets, and the opportunity to rewire, accelerate, and make the financial infrastructure more efficient is, I think, truly profound.
And speaking of infrastructure, Ripple has made several major acquisitions over the past 2 years. What's the strategy for 2026? Is it integration of those respective acquisitions, additional acquisitions, or both?
Well, look, I'm super proud of the kind of playing offense last year. And again, you got to remember that for at least 3.5, 4 years, Ripple was playing defense.
XRP down at the moment.
Just recently, we've been able to kind of shift that into playing offense again, and that has felt great. I feel like we lost some time, which is frustrating, but we're going to work very hard in 2026 to make up that time. I think both of the big acquisitions we made, one in Hidden Road, which is now called Ripple Prime, and two, G Treasury, which we now call Ripple Treasury, are really demonstrative of, I think, too many in the crypto landscape are focused inside the echo chamber. And we were very focused on going outside of the echo chamber, in bringing traditional finance to crypto. So, I'll use G Treasury as an example. Now Ripple Treasury, but G Treasury was already, they have, over 1,000 corporate clients where they really are the CFO dashboard, managing liquidity, deposits, currencies, and they had 0% penetration of either digital assets or stablecoin. So the 13 or 14 trillion dollars that they orchestrated around payments, of which, not a huge percentage, but a material percentage was cross-border, that's just all ripe opportunity.
Okay, all subscribers can comment now.
Prior to acquisition, had visibility into lots of deposits that are effectively dormant and not really being optimized around yield. Well, now we can help them with that using RLUSD and bringing more liquidity on the XRP ledger. So,
did you hear that about RLUSD?
The last part of your question, you're right. This year is much more about integration. We have two amazing leaders who came on board and joined my team, who now are, kind of figuring out how to make sure to integrate some of those things we're just talking about. But I could not really be much more pleased. I don't mind sharing. I'm here in New York, and we had a team offsite yesterday kind of talking through some of these things as we thought about our 2026 strategy. So it's definitely going to be a year of more integration. I don't think you should expect any other big acquisitions, but you never know. The second half of the year, we'll start looking to be more acquisitive again.
And Brad, with the integration on that topic, and even the larger theme of adoption of blockchain technology by TradFi and crypto-focused companies such as Ripple acquiring TradFi companies, right? It's kind of happening on both sides. do you see over time that it won't necessarily be the crypto market and the TradFi market, that you have this convergence and it's just going to be the market because they're all going to be running on blockchain rails?
Tony, so first of all, I think this is an incredibly important question, and I'm gonna make fun of my age a little bit here. I've been around the technology landscape for a long time. I moved to Silicon Valley in 1997 in the earliest days of the internet, and in those early days of the internet, we would call things an internet company, and Amazon was an internet company, Yahoo was an internet company, and it's like no, actually. Amazon's just a commerce company. Yahoo is just a media company. And over time, we realized the internet is going to be pervasive in every company. And we're not going to have just internet companies. We're going to have companies that integrate these technologies. I believe the exact same thing is true around crypto and blockchain. And even, when I talk about Ripple, you'll rarely hear me refer to Ripple as a crypto or blockchain company. Instead, I think about it as we're a infrastructure company, almost a platform company around financial services. It happens to be we leverage crypto and blockchain to deliver those solutions better, cheaper, faster, stronger. But I don't think in the years ahead we'll talk about these companies as crypto first. And I think, frankly, companies who do that are going to miss the bigger opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. So how is Ripple approaching institutions when it comes to utilizing the XRP ledger and even the XRP token? And I'll reference, some recent adoption news like the Billaton Diamond tokenization with Control Alt, if I'm not mistaken. But How are you approaching these institutions?
So first of all, I've said this now a few times on Twitter, but I want to say it here for this community in my own voice. It may not always be obvious. I want every single person in the XRP family, the XRP army, to know that XRP is the North Star for Ripple. It's our purpose. When we think about what we're doing on Ripple payments or Ripple Prime or Ripple Treasury or custody or RLUSD, this is all focused on how we can drive utility, trust, and velocity or liquidity around XRP and the XRP ledger. So, things like Ripple payments on the DEX with permissioned domains, Ripple Prime using XRP for collateral and lending, Ripple Treasury we kind of talked about, doing enabled payments around XRP and RLUSD within Treasury management. These are all examples of where we are going to continue to make sure, as we think about Ripple as a platform company for financial infrastructure, that XRP is at the heartbeat of that. You'll hear more about this, some of those specifics from Monica Long, our president at Ripple, later today. And this morning you may have seen we announced Aviva Investors, one of the largest asset management firms in the world, tokenizing on the XRP ledger. So
wow,
we're going to continue to focus on that institutional opportunity. Ripple has decided to partner when it comes to partner or invest or support companies going after the consumer opportunity. But hopefully it gives a sense of kind of where we are with that.
And the OCC recently granted Ripple conditional approval for a banking license. What does this enable Ripple to do today, and what changes once the conditional provisions are removed?
So, I think I believe aside the longer term, big picture opportunity, what we could do, that the charter today, this really allows stability around RLUSD. Many people know that we originally set up and launched RLUSD under the New York DFS kind of trust license, Department of Financial Services in New York, which we felt like at the time was the gold standard. We now have both of these, and it's really, we want to be the most regulated, compliant, because we're focused on institutional flows. Like, that is the priority. Now, the specifics around the OCC charter, it allows kind of better bankruptcy protections for reserve assets. It makes it very clear that RLUSD is a leader under the Genius Act framework, but it really secures and kind of cements our leading position, and we've seen that recognized by analysts and reporters alike. But we really are the first stablecoin issuer to have oversight as a trust company at both the state and federal levels. And we think that dual layer is the gold standard. So that's why that's important. Now,
there's been a lot of speculation about what we could do in the future. There's been some commentary about a Fed master account, which we do think is compelling. And there's things we may do in the future that I'm not going to go into today. But suffice it to say, you asked earlier that if you told me 10 years ago we would have even conditional approval from the OCC or kind of even engagement with the OCC, like that is massive progress relative to where we started this journey.
Yeah, absolutely. I sometimes have to pinch myself to when I see these news items and the crypto industry are integrating into the TradFi world and these licenses and all these things being provided. It's pretty amazing, but shows the potential of this technology, and we still have ways to go.
Well, you've been a good person to, as I said in my introduction, which I guess was the the audio wasn't working so well, but you've been along this journey for a long time as well and kind of seen a lot of it firsthand. So we have appreciated that. And I know a lot of people in the community appreciate that. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. And a two-part question here. How is Ripple planning to support the XRP ecosystem with users, developers, and builders? And what are your favorite qualities of the XRP community?
Look, I will start by just being a very genuine. I freaking love this community. I love this army. And, I feel like we're a community when we need to be a community. When we're an army, we need to be an army based upon kind of everybody who's attacking us. But the fact that this group has stayed with us through thick and thin, and honestly dug into the data and kind of do your own research, dug into where XRP is well positioned and where it makes sense to use something else, or it does make sense to use XRP. And there's a lot to love about the underlying technology, and I could not be more proud to call myself a member of the XRP family. I'm really in awe of the community and the kind of passion, the resilience is just awesome. And again, I kind of lurk on Twitter sometimes, as you guys know, and seeing people kind of correct, and even honestly also appropriately just ignoring some people, because it's like some people they're spreading they're just intentionally spreading misinformation. I'm just like, whatever, I'm gonna ignore this person. Okay, but one of the things I'm probably most excited about, which is I think an important part of your question here, I think this year, getting more activity and momentum around the lending protocol and other protocols, it's just moving further. It's a priority for me. It's a priority for Ripple. But yield generation, and whether it's Ripple supporting partners like Flare, Morpho, there's companies Uphold, Doppler, Axelar, but all of these companies are doing things around yield generation on the XRP ledger, and I think it's critically important.
Who's next?
More institutional.
Look at the poll.
More friendly to the community. There are some L1s are kind of ahead of us in this, and I think 2026, seeing real progress on this is important. And I'll also just say, part of this, I'm proud of this community and frankly proud of Ripple. When we focus on something, we are really freaking good, and this is definitely going to be a focus area in 2026.
And you celebrated the launch of the XRP spot ETFs last year, a major on-ramp, and these have been created for other assets as well, but certainly XRP was one of the most anticipated. And where do you think the ETF market is going this year, and what does this signal about the regulated investment products?
Look, I think this is a really important in terms of making all of crypto more institutional. And again, as you guys know, I believe in a multi-chain world. I'm not an XRP maxi. I think XRP is exceptionally good at some really big solution frameworks, but I'm proud of the fact that Bitcoin had a really successful and powerful ETF launch. Now, XRP was the fastest spot ETF to hit 1 billion in assets under management since ETH. In less than a month. Today, it stands at about 1.5 billion. Even last week, when there was kind of massive, carnage going on in the market, there was positive inflows of, I think $30 or $40 million, which is great. And look, some of the big pivots that I wouldn't have expected. Vanguard, as one of the largest asset managers in the country, in the U.S., it had until recently, I think it was early December, had been very anti-crypto, and Vanguard finally is opening up access and retirement accounts, and it shows that public markets are keen to invest in crypto, and ultimately, these big players like Vanguard need to adopt what their customers want, and their customers, as demonstrated by the ETFs, not just of XRP but of Bitcoin as well. Customers want it, and they need to provide it, and that's important.
So, Brad, you referenced Vanguard. It seems that institutions, they must have a crypto or blockchain strategy now. It would be kind of foolish to not have one. In the years before, they kind of ignored it, but it seems like everyone needs to have a strategy now.
Yeah, I agree. Again, I'll say something I said earlier. I think we are still in early days, so I don't think we've seen massive adoption yet, and we're kind of in an entrepreneurial journey. One of the things you kind of talk about is going from 0 to 1, and then 1 to 100, and then beyond. And I think 2025 we went from 0 to 1, and that's manifested by ETFs. It's manifested by, frankly, even the BlackRocks of the world. Larry Fink talking about the opportunity around tokenizing assets on blockchains is profound. It's still very early, but crypto isn't fringe anymore. It's being absorbed into capital markets, into treasury management, into prime brokerage. And I think institutions are no longer just exploring blockchain just for crypto exposure. It's for settlement efficiency, for cross-border liquidity. And when you underlay all of that with the improving picture around regulatory clarity, you add all those different pieces together, and honestly, Tony, it's a conundrum that you're seeing the crypto markets struggle over the last 3 or 4 months. I'm incredibly optimistic about what's ahead in 2026. I look forward to the reality I just talked through, catching up with the crypto markets and how crypto assets are priced.
And one of the catalysts that could boost further adoption is the Clarity Act passing. Do you see that passing this year, and what impact may it have?
Tony, look, I'm an entrepreneur, and so people accuse me of always being optimistic, and so I'm guilty as charged. Now, that being said, I have been very close to this. Ripple has been very close to this. As I mentioned earlier, our chief legal officer was at the White House yesterday. You saw some coverage about that. You have this White House pushing hard to get that moving again. Frankly, I was disappointed and frustrated that it stalled. When the chairman of the banking committee, Tim Scott, kind of paused, if you will. I do think it's going to get moving again here shortly. I think there was some very constructive conversation yesterday at the White House on how to bridge the gap between what some of the banks are feeling and what the crypto community. But look, what the markup that Senator Scott was going to bring had overwhelming support from the crypto community and support around banking. And so I think we're going to get it back on track. I'll give it 75% that by the end of April, this is not just back on track, but very close to getting signed.
Final question here, Brad, as we wrap up. Where do you see Ripple in 2030?
Ooh, wow, 2030. Well, so first of all, that's only 4 years from now. That used to feel so far away, and now it's pretty close. Look, I think Ripple will continue to grow as a platform company for financial infrastructure that permeates, it brings XRP and the XRP ledger into all of our use cases and continues to drive that trust, that utility and liquidity in XRP. But look, the thing I will emphasize, of course, we want Ripple to be successful within XRP. I want to keep reminding people, Ripple's reason for existence is driving success around XRP and the XRP ecosystem. We will continue to build products and services that customers love and will pay for to make Ripple successful, but it's in service of the overall XRP ecosystem, and we'll champion technology improvements around XRP as we have, but also champion other use cases and investments that we think will help achieve that. So look, I think there's a chance there will be a $1 trillion crypto company. I don't doubt that for a second. I think Ripple has the opportunity, if we do things well in partnership with the overall XRP ecosystem, to be that company, and maybe there'll be more than one.
Exciting times are ahead. Brad, I was told you had an announcement to share about exclusive swag.
Yeah, look, Tony, I mean, this is kind of on the fun side of things, but before we close, and as I shared via a teaser yesterday on Twitter, we're doing the first kind of XRP Community Day swag drop. I posted a crew neck that we're going to be giving away. It's got XRP Community Day. It's a limited edition design. Only 2,000 were produced. It's really our way of saying thank you for spending the day with us, obviously virtually, but as part of the XRP community. I'm super excited to kick off the first swag drop, and you'll see our Ripple X Dev account just shared a link in the comments on how to enter to win one. There'll be a few more drops throughout the event when the website is live, so stay tuned for the next one later in the EMEA segment, and then again for the Americas and APAC segment of the event. But look, I'll close just by saying I really appreciate all of you for being here. We have an exciting day planned. I appreciate everybody who kind of organized and helped brought it together. But thank you, Tony, for joining me in this kickoff. And so with all of that, and maybe right on time despite the audio problems at the beginning, I will hand it off to Marcus Enfinger, our Senior Vice President.
Guys, here we go. On to the second event. That was Brad. So much bullish things to unpack. But now, special guest.
Thank you, Brad.
Someone
Hi,
we don't know. We know Marcus.
Following on from Brad's opening, it feels
guest.
pretty clear that the momentum behind the XRP ecosystem has never been stronger. I'm Marcus Enfinger, SVP of RippleX, and I spent 2 decades in global banking prior to Ripple.
Can everyone hit the like button and share this
like
out?
The one we're about to discuss embrace
this is an important one.
And
smash the like
of the
button
XRP ledger
and share this
is
out.
Exactly why I'm here. Look, it's really an incredible time to be having this conversation. The popularity of tokenized real-world assets, or RWAs, continues to increase as we've seen billions of financial assets move onto public chains globally. I want to highlight here upfront that the XRPL currently ranks 6th in the total assets league table on R.
Stay with us. Again, this is not our issue. This is on their end. Yep, I've checked. This is definitely on their end. Stay with us. Who's this Alistair person? Is this the special guest? Yeah, he's got 14 followers. Who the hell is Alistair? Alistair, so this guy over here who's going to be a speaker, he's only got 14 followers on X. Who is he? And how is he a speaker?
Yeah, Marcus Gonzalez, I think.
Who the hell is this guy? And how is he a speaker? I thought he might be the special guest. I was checking if he's BlackRock, but he's just a random person, I think. He's got 14 followers and he just started... Maybe he is the speaker. I don't know. He's got 14 followers there. If I could show you his account. Let me show you this guy's account. He's got... Oh, now he's got 26
Marcus,
followers.
I think we lost your audio.
Who is this? Who is Alistair Sewell? Followed by Ripple. This is the special guest. Does anyone... Is this Satoshi? Guys, can everyone hit the like button? We are waiting for them to reveal this special guest, but this is strange. I've never heard of this person. Is he accidentally there? But Ripple follows him. He's got 26 followers. Alistair Sewell. Someone do some research on him. Who is this guy? That's the special guest. As someone who's got 26 followers here on X. He's going to be going up in followers now. We're promoting him. Who is this guy? Is he Satoshi? Guys, is Alistair Sewell Satoshi? Yes or no in the chat? Yes or no in the chat? Guys, stay with us. We're waiting for the event to restart. We've lost audio from Marcus, the SVP of Ripple. We just had Brad Garlinghouse on the show. Very, very bullish stuff for XRP. I love it when he comes on and essentially says, XRP is the reason Ripple exists, and we will do everything in our power to give XRP utility. That event's over. Now we're on to next. This is going to be fast moving. 3 major sessions. We're still in session number 1, but this is the one I'm highly anticipating. But why? Well, because in the cheat sheet today, we actually put out how this session 2, we've got Marcus Infrager, the guy who's just having technical problems right now. He's the SVP of Ripple, but then a surprise guest to be announced. And it seems like it's Alistair. But who the hell is Alistair? Oh, they've put the music on again. Let me turn that off. Oh, we've lost Marcus. Now it's just Alistair and Ripple. We are waiting for... Let me go into the live chat. Did anyone figure out who Alistair is? Is he Satoshi? You guys know I'm joking. Wow, this is crazy. He's my boy. Oh, Ripple's playing music. That's the special guest. Alistair busy just now. Its special guest is an XRP holder. Is it? Is it just a random XRP holder? I have no followers. You could just do it on your socials. BlackRock will not be speaking. Could it be the special guest? I don't know. Well, it could have been, but now it's Alistair something with 12 followers on X. So we were wrong about the special guest. I don't know who the special guest is. I certainly didn't expect it to be someone with 12 followers. He's my boy, says that. LMAO. That's Martyn's brother. We could have all been speakers at this point. Yeah. Oh, here we go. Marcus is back. Marcus is back literally right now. Oh, no, the music is still playing. Marcus is back, but they're still playing the music. Aviva, no. I'll mute that until Ripple turns off their music. I'm crying with laughter. Yes, obviously it's Satoshi. He's in the stand like Mr. Bean. Yes, this is rubbish. We should have hosted this. I don't know why they're doing it on X Spaces. Maybe they've got some agreement with Elon Musk, but I don't like it. We could have hosted this event much better. I think we're doing a much better job right now as well. In fact, oh, here we go. Marcus is back. Oh, he was. No, he's not. Oh, he's got his microphone on, but it's not speaking. Oh, God, this is a mess, isn't it? This isn't a good look for XRP Community Day. Go on, Marcus. You can speak now. And Alistair, 24 followers. We're still waiting.
Sorry for the technical glitch there and leaving you in the cliffhanger there. I think I was just going over the hot of the press earlier today that we announced an exciting new collaboration between Ripple and Aviva investors to bring tokenized fund structures onto the XRPL. Against that backdrop, I'm super excited to be here today with Alistair Sewell, Senior Investment Director at Aviva Investors, a firm managing over £250 billion in assets.
Wow, wow, wow.
Alistair,
we've got Aviva on the show.
It's great to have you.
It's not a random person.
To start us off...
Sorry. Even better to have you. It's even better to have you back.
Awesome. It's good to hear you. To start us off, many of us,
guys,
joining here in Europe will know Aviva investors
Aviva and Marcus.
But for those elsewhere who aren't as familiar, could you briefly introduce yourself and the company?
I'd be delighted to. And look, I've got to say, what a privilege, what an honor it is to be here with you today. And speaking personally, I can say that I and Aviva Investors are absolutely delighted by this partnership we've entered into with Ripple. So Aviva Investors is the investment management arm of Aviva PLC, which is the UK's largest diversified insurer. It's a business whose origins stretch back more than 325
years. Guys, reading off a script. This is what insurers do.
Customers across the UK, helping them protect what matters, save for the future, and manage risk in an increasingly complex world. And when I think back, Marcus, over that history of Aviva Investors, that 325 years, I think we've seen a lot of change in that time. And one of my favorite historical examples is our early adoption of the telegraph. Now, you may remember January 1838, or maybe you don't remember January 1838, but that was when the very first telegraph was ever sent. And Aviva Investors' predecessor firms were among some of the earliest commercial users of this technology, using telegraphy to accelerate underwriting claims long before digital systems existed. And that's really important. That's a reminder that technological change is not new to our industry, and that we've been able to consistently embrace innovations in the past to make markets faster, safer, and more connected. And that very same mindset drives us today. You know, we manage over $335 billion, 250 sterling in assets across public and private markets, and we are always looking for technologies that can help us improve how we serve our clients. And what we hope to do with you at Ripple is exactly that, a step into the future.
That was 100%
That's awesome and really
impressive.
impressive. Over 300 years of early adoption and embracing technologies. That's really exciting. Let's talk about the new
Guys, this is
collaboration
actually a
between
massive
Aviva
story.
investors and
Aviva's
Ripple,
massive. Can everyone
which
hit
we're
the like
really
button,
excited to
subscribe?
announce earlier today. So, Alistair, what's happening? What does it actually mean? And why is it important? Why should people in the XRP community care?
Well, there's a very simple reason why people in the XRP community should care, because this is a great example of how a traditional financial institution is embracing this new technology, is embracing the XRP ledger to move our operations into the future. What that means in specific terms is we are going to be working with Ripple to bring tokenized mutual fund structures onto the XRP ledger. So these are going to be yield-bearing tokens with highly stable value due to the high quality and the high stability of the assets backing them. These are a form of a yield-bearing token, which will essentially bring us as a traditional investment manager, as a traditional financial institution into the future. And this will enable for us, this will enable faster settlement. It will enable automated lifecycle events. It will reduce operational frictions, and it will improve distribution models. And Marcus, I have to say, this isn't experimentation for its own sake. We recognize that financial markets are changing, the way they operate is changing, and we want our products to be able to integrate seamlessly with the digital ecosystem we're going to see in the future.
Guys, that's actually a big announcement.
Thank you. To
Aviva's
double click a little bit on that, what problems specifically are you looking to solve by bringing your funds onto the XRPL? Can you share a little bit more about the use cases?
Let's listen in a bit deeper.
And sort of like the envisioned end state of the value created here for your stakeholders?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to give you another real quick history lesson here, Marcus. And this time the history lesson is the mutual fund. Did you know the mutual fund was invented in 1924? That's 102 years. So that was 100 years that we've been using mutual funds in our industry. And look, they're a great product. They served investors really well. They do great things for people. But they're also 100 years old. I think we can do a little bit better than that. I think we can bring that technology forwards. What does that mean in specific terms? And in direct answer to your question, well, it means we can move settlement cycles for funds from days to seconds. It means we can eliminate some of the manual reconciliations which ultimately cause cost increases in funds. It means we can consolidate data flows into simpler and more accessible patterns. And also we can address one of the really important things, which is the limited mobility today of assets for collateral purposes. Now I realize collateral is getting a little bit technical in terms of financial market jargon, and maybe we can unpack that a little bit later. But this ability to move collateral faster is a real game changer for traditional financial institutions like Aviva investors. And that's because we can move from slow settlement to near instant settlement. We can move to synchronized data. We can move to 24/7 trading, and we can move to moving our assets around in real time. That is tangible utility. That is tangible benefit for end investors.
Wow. Are we seeing the bottom on
XRP? It's really exciting listening to you. I just
is the bottom
this is exactly the kind of reason why I joined this industry, and just this notion of seeing financial markets at large just operate much more productively. And so yeah, it's just exciting. This is now falling into place.
Nick
Shifting
Jones
gears a
buying
bit
Aviva
here,
stock.
how easy was it for you to get internal buy-in for the initiative, and do you anticipate any challenges as things move forward? Appreciate Aviva investors, pretty significantly sized company.
Aviva
and
holds about $350
aren't
billion
super simple,
in
I can
assets.
No, absolutely. And change is hard. And I think we all recognize and we all understand that change is hard, but we also recognize that change is necessary. Change is necessary to accommodate the future. And also, frankly, being very candid here, is we recognize the risk of disruption. We see there is a scenario where financial markets move at scale to a digital basis, to a digital infrastructure. And in order to remain relevant, to be able to capture the opportunities that present itself, it's important that we change. But look, that change is hard, Marcus. You're absolutely right. And I know you've got a history on the traditional financial institution side as well. So enabling that change is difficult, right? And I think the way that we approach that is number one, Aviva Investors has a long history of innovation. We have innovated both in the past. I gave the example of the telegraph, but more recently, we've done some really interesting stuff in the carbon removal market, for example. There are interesting things we focus on, and that innovation is part of our lifeblood, part of our desire to change. But to make it happen, it's about building messaging. It's about identifying the people internally who are willing to bear the torch, who are willing to engage with this new technology and build momentum, build buy-in, and actually make tangible change. And that doesn't just come from a single individual, that comes from many individuals from many different functions who come together, who see the potential, who see the roadblocks, and work to climb over those roadblocks. I think from a timing perspective, what we see is, as an institution, we see that this technology is maturing. And I think Brad used the example in his opening remarks about the entrepreneurial perspective and about where we are now. And I think he's absolutely right. We're at the point where the technology is maturing. We're at the point where we're seeing client needs evolve. We're seeing the point where
this
the direction
is why I'm
of
listening to
travel for
XRP
markets
Community
is
today for
very,
announcements
very
like
clear.
this, to be even
And so
more
we need
bullish
to
on my
adapt to
investment in
that. And
XRP.
by working with
Stay
Ripple, we hope to do so.
tuned with us.
It's not going to be an easy path forward.
Everyone stay tuned with us. We're going to be live for 14 sessions. We're going to have breaks after another 3 sessions. So stay with us, hit the like button, share it out.
Work with our regulators in a constructive and productive manner to enable these opportunities. And we need to scale the operational readiness. These are big ticket items, but we embrace the challenge, we rise to that challenge, and we can't wait to get our teeth into it. It is exciting, Marcus.
So look, first of all, congrats on getting this initiative so far internally, rallying the relevant support, and thank you for being a champion for the technology. And look, we at Ripple, we've always believed this movement is a collaborative movement, is working with the system to transform financial markets, and so it's important to have partnerships like this, building the relevant bridge, so to speak. Shifting gears again a little bit, I know this initiative ultimately envisions the promised land of sort of like enabling on-chain repo. And just quickly, for those less familiar with the term, think of repo as the essential daily plumbing of Wall Street. So sort of a platform to manage global financial liquidity needs and a way for institutions to either borrow cash by using their high-quality assets as collateral or lend cash to earn a secure return. So Alice,
Guys, that's not an issue on our end. That is an issue
Marcus,
on their
I'm going to
end.
continue. I think you were asking me about what we think about the on-chain repo market.
Exactly.
All,
sorry, did I get lost there for a bit?
We lost you for 1 second, but that's fine. I was just going to say you did a great job of explaining what a repo is, and I can really only reiterate just how important repo is. It's the lifeblood of financial markets. It's really what drives almost everything that happens in financial markets. It may not be visible to many people, but it is there, and it is very significant. Did you know that the US repo market alone turned over more than $12 trillion every single day? That's a 12 with 12 zeros.
Trillion with a T.
12 trillion with a T, yeah. So when you think about a market that size, and if any efficiency gain, no matter how small it is, that means dollars. That means significant dollars. That means you can make real gains. You can make it more efficient. So what can you do with an on-chain repo? Well, you can do near instant settlement, and that crosses a huge barrier because currently today you'll have end-of-day netting processes, for example, which means intraday you may have less visibility than you'd like to on the collateral or the cash that's moving around on either side of that repo transaction. So having near instant settlement, giving you that visibility on it, means you can automate margining, for example. Your collateral can move in real time, and you have far, far greater transparency. And look, this is a real life issue. This is a real concern for markets. I know many of the listeners to this are in the US or international, but back right here in the UK, just 3 years ago, we had real issues in our government bond market due to some unfortunate government policy decisions.
Liz Trust.
And that was a time which just reveals how important it is to know where your collateral is, to know that you can move it fast to your counterparty if you need to, and you can react swiftly to a crisis event in markets. That's hard with conventional architecture. With a digital architecture, that becomes much, much easier, and this solves a whole raft of problems. So that's hugely important. The other interesting thing we can do with moving repo on chain is we can potentially change the cash leg for a tokenized money market fund. And that is a potential real game changer because it cuts out a lot of frictions that you have in the value chain for creating a repo today. I realize that's a little bit technical, but just think about it this way. That repo, which you described so beautifully at the beginning, Marcus, we can make it work simpler, faster, and with greater visibility, and that delivers tangible benefit, tangible utility to the entire financial system. We cannot underestimate how significant the gains are here.
Thank you, Alistair. And to state the obvious, very, very equally excited about the prospect and potential of this use case in particular. Maybe to just go even a layer deeper here, and also looking a little bit, further ahead. As we look into this on-chain future, how do you see the pool of eligible collateral evolving? I would say we're starting to see, with these like high-grade funds. But do you see a world where native digital assets like XRP or Bitcoins eventually find their way into these institutional grade on-chain repo structure as sort of like emerging forms of collateral as they mature further from here and more regulation like Genius Acts and whatnot fall in place? What's your viewpoint there?
Yeah, look, there's a lot of regulatory pieces that will need to change to get really mass adoption of this, particularly outside of the US. In the US, we've seen great progress on this, but in other markets, there are still some regulatory blockers, which it gets a little bit technical in the characteristics of the repo market. I think where we begin is probably with bonds, so high quality government bonds, treasuries and the likes, or what we have in the UK, we call them gilts, which are the equivalent of US treasuries. We see it starting there and then probably expanding to other assets. Because, as you know, Marcus, there are two things that really matter in a repo. Those are the counterparty, so the guy on the other side, the guy or the girl on the other side of the table that you're interacting with, and the collateral that you're moving. Now, if that collateral is really high quality, then you can come to an agreement where you have relatively little margin in it. But as you start moving into other types of assets, then you're going to want a little bit more margin to cover you for any risk that you get in there. So effectively, this is risk neutral. So you're almost indifferent to what the asset is, provided the amount of haircut you're taking protects you from the risk of that. So the implication of that is, as technology becomes more widely adopted, as familiarity increases, as adoption increases, then investors are more than likely to be looking at a wider collateral set, provided they're working with a high quality counterparty that they trust, and that the amount of margin that they have is sufficient to cover them for the risk of the assets. And look, we are moving into a world where we have traditional assets. We're tokenizing those so they become into a digital format. We have digitally native assets, which do include some of the assets you've already mentioned. So I think there is a multi-asset future where many different asset types will be accepted into these transactions at scale. And as we both agreed earlier on, repo is the lifeblood of financial markets. This is really where TradFi can meet DeFi in a truly exciting way.
Thank you so much, Alistair. Makes a lot of sense in terms of the haircut aspects and all that, and lots of room to grow and mature there for crypto native assets, so to speak. I like to end the question set with the following. Look, there's been a lot of talk about RWA tokenization for several years now. Perhaps can you give us your view on what stage you think we're at on the tokenized RWA journey today, and how do you see the future unfolding over the coming years?
Yeah, one word: growth. Growth, growth, and growth. I think you referred to earlier that there's about $360 billion or so of tokenized real world assets now. That's a big number, and that's a growing number. You think about tokenized money market funds, which is one of the areas that's really important.
Can everyone repost this on X? I'm giving you a link in the chat. Please repost. Money
market funds today. And those actually grew by about 120% last year.
Repost and like, please.
That is really a supernormal growth rate. And that is because there's tangible demand, there's tangible market interest, and there's real world utility for investors who are using these products. So I think we're going to see growth. And what's underpinning that is that technology is now production ready. Regulatory clarity is improving. And these products like the tokenized money market funds I've referred to, they're gaining real traction. What's going to be important? I think interoperability is going to be important. I think collateral markets moving on chain are going to drive more growth, more demand. The evolution of distribution models will be an important factor. But more importantly, really the bottom line is that tokenization. Tokenization is what we're talking about today. Tokenization becomes the standard layer of financial market infrastructure. And that's where entities like Ripple have advantages and can execute on this. And this is where the XRP ledger can provide that layer that we as a financial institution can transact on and provide services to our clients.
Thank you, Alistair. Yeah, direction is certainly up and to the right. And look, just thank you, Alistair, for joining us here at the XRP Community Day. It's and sharing your thoughts and insight. And it goes without saying, we very much look forward to continuing our collaboration with you as the XRPL and XRP lead the charge in bringing TradFi assets on chain and unlock utility into the wider financial system. Yeah, wish everyone a good rest of the Community Day. And yeah, stay tuned for the next session on funding in the XRP ecosystem, which is now due. Thank you all, and be safe out there.
Thank you.
Guys, that was massive. A massive announcement we just had. Aviva are now entering XRP and Ripple. Aviva Investors, the global asset management business of Aviva PLC, and Ripple, a financial technology company. Let me mute that. I don't know why they do that. They put some really terrible music every time there's a break. A Ripple and financial technology company that offer crypto solutions for businesses have announced a partnership with the intention of tokenizing traditional fund structures. This is Aviva. Over $350 billion worth of assets under management seeks to tokenize products on the XRP ledger in collaboration with Ripple. That's the special announcement we've just got. We've now got the next session, session 3. We're going to be covering all the sessions. Smash the like button. If you are an XRP investor, today's the day you need to be watching. If you're clicking off on the day of the XRP Community Day, you're not a real investor because you have no idea what you're investing in. Now we're going over to the funding of the XRP ecosystem. Let's just double check where we're at with them. Are they live yet? That's Alistair. No, Ripple are playing the music. Let's keep an eye. I'll keep an eye on it over here. So when that starts, we can go to it. But we've got our full cheat sheet. Can I let everyone know there is a 50% offer today on the newsletter? Today only, XRP Community Day only. Go and check it out. 50% off. There's also a free plan. You'll have got the full session, the full cheat sheet. You get my portfolio challenge, the training course, the chart analysis course, the £5,000 portfolio challenge. You get the daily newsletters, the deep dives, my XRP levels, when I'm buying. All of that is 50% off. I'll put the link in the live chat. Go and grab it while it lasts. I think there's only 5 available today. So go and grab it. Let's go back. I know Ripple's still playing music. So we've got funding the XRP ecosystem. We're going to be watching Alexander Lin, Refuge VC. We've got Rob from Dragonfly, 4 billion under management, CFTC advisory. We've got Jacob from Superscript, and the moderator will be Christian Chan, the Ripple ecosystem growth. Follow the money. Dragonfly is one of the most influential VCs, venture capitals, with no confirmed XRPL investments yet, making their presence a signal. Superscript is backed by a Singapore wealth fund. We've got the speakers lined up, not speaking yet. Christina Chan manages Ripple's $1 billion XRP ecosystem fund. So this is going to be exciting. Let me see if they are speaking. Nope, still got the music on. If everyone can go and repost this as well. This will get people from X that are just watching a boring show over there over here. That would be great support. It is free to do. Please do go do it. It is the link in the live chat. If you go on it, hit the like button, repost it. That would be great. This is the 50% off offer as well. I am looking at all your comments as well. I have seen some people sending in some information about Aviva as well. It's great. We're going to be discussing it all as well. But we're back to back right now with more and more sessions on XRP. If you are an XRP investor, you don't click off a day like this. You watch it, you make notes, you see if you're still bullish on XRP, you see if it's worth your money. and then you can deploy. If XRP day doesn't go well, I might be out of XRP. Of course, I have to keep an eye on my investments. I'm not just married to a token for the sake of being married to a token. I want to see what they're doing, what they're building, what the utility is on XRP. And there is no better day than XRP Community Day to reaffirm my position on XRP. So we want to see what these people are saying. We've got a big panel now. This is going to be please stop talking over the guests. The guests aren't speaking right now. It has gone to a 5-minute break until the next guests are ready. So I'm not speaking over any guests. I have the full event here for you. Please hit the like button. Please do subscribe. Without the price being expensive, they can't use it. That is incorrect. That's a lie. That's something people on X make up. Yes. There is a tiny bit of logic to the argument, but it doesn't mean it can't be used now. It means that even if it is expensive, even if it is $50 in XRP, $20, $100, it can still be used. The argument isn't the lower the price of XRP is, the less likely they're going to use it. It just means the higher XRP's price goes, it's still, the use case is still there. So people always get that argument misinformed. So no, the price doesn't have to go to $100 for people to, institutions to start using XRP. That is a wrong information. No insurance security right now. Only banks hold the trust of people. I see a lot of people turning bearish at the time where I turn bullish. I turn bullish when the price goes near $1. I turn bullish when the price goes under $1. People that were calling for $100 XRP, $50 XRP, that were buying at $3.40, today they're turning bearish when there's good news coming out. I don't understand it. Here we go on to our next event. Ripple have just turned off their music, so I expect the speakers to start talking any second now. Stay with us another few sessions, then we'll take a break onto the Asian or the US session, and then Monica Long. So stay with us.
I want to shift gears a little bit here and talk about startups and VCs. I'm Christina, and I lead the ecosystem growth team here at Ripple. And a lot of what I focus on, or at least what our team focuses on, is growing startups, supporting startups in the ecosystem, working with builders, but also, you know, connecting to different VCs and bringing them into the ecosystem. And that's been sort of a big topic that I hear, and a recurring theme is like, hey, you know, all these entrepreneurs, like any entrepreneurs out there, whether in the blockchain or not, is they're always looking for funding, which is exactly what we're going to dive into in this session. Joining me here, we have 3 VCs. Rob from Dragonfly, Alex from Reforge, and we have Jacob all the way here from Singapore at Superscript. Welcome to the panel. Good morning, good evening, wherever you are, Rob, Alex, and Jacob.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, excited
Thank you.
to dive right in. So maybe just to start off, you know, really broadly, you know, how would you describe the current capital, the current funding environment right now? Like, where is capital flowing, and what's changed compared to a year or 2 years ago? Maybe Alex, we can start with you.
Yeah, sure. So I think, so hi, everyone. Alex from Reforge here. I think we're starting
This
to
is Reforge
see,
VC,
somewhat of
Alexander
consolidation
Lin.
happening. I think there's still a lot of capital.
There's a poll
out
in the
there,
live
but,
chat. Please
the
vote.
expectations of what that capital is used for, and the short-termism that has plagued the industry for a long time with respect to, you know, quick exit liquidity, playing the game of investing and expecting a token return well before companies achieve some level of success with product market fit and whatnot, is making most people jaded. I think retail in particular looks at VC funding and says, hey, we are their exit liquidity. And I think now in 2026, that sentiment has reached this inflection point of we're not going to have it, and we're not going to deal with that anymore. And that also has resulted in a lot of funding and capital allocators to realize, hey, because this playbook doesn't exist anymore, maybe we can't either. So I think money is getting smarter. That also raises the bar for and expectations for the quality of teams and founders building within the space, which I think is net positive, of course. And then with the introduction of institutions,
if anyone from Ripple
with the
is watching, Brad
really
Garlinghouse, if you're watching our stream, please say hello in the chat.
I think both from a regulatory perspective, but also more generally from a cultural perspective, I think that there's going to be continued net inflows that will continue boosting the space. But particularly on the early stage, in terms of what I'm seeing, I think very excited for a continued allocation, but just in higher quality, less grifty opportunities.
Yeah, that's actually pretty interesting. Jaded on token launches. I'm curious, like, is it you have a hybrid when it comes? You seeing a lot of hybrid when it fundraise, or just mostly people just on the equity side and not taking tokens anymore from a VC perspective?
Yeah, I can quickly answer, and then maybe if Rob and Jacob have a perspective. But we're still seeing a hybrid structure with equity and a token warrant with the early stage, I guess, structure of contracts and investments. But there's less emphasis on this expectation that there will be a token just purely because they are a crypto native company.
Got it. Okay, and stronger founders, definitely. Rob, what's your take of what's going on in the market right now?
Yeah, I think we're seeing something a little bit different than what Alex is seeing, but that also might just be a little bit of a stage point. So, and I've had this discussion with like a number of different VCs the last couple of months, and frankly,
Audio
the
is
VC market
bad
is
from her
actually
end,
pretty
not our end.
active right now. If you look at the amount of capital that was deployed in January, it was actually quite strong. But it's really coalesced around not just, okay, well, use cases that work, but the kind of use cases that are showing really, really strong product market fit, but it's also really coalesced around equity. So most of the VC capital right now is going into equity businesses. I think that's somewhat structural for the reasons of the fact that stable coins and payments is one of the hottest topics. Tokenization is one of the hottest topics. The things like continuing to have centralized exchanges and market structure, and call it some core infrastructure for like institutional adoption. Those continue to be one of the most actively funded parts of the market. Prediction markets is probably the one other, and these are by definition mostly kind of like traditional equity investments or private equity. DeFi continues to still do well, especially around derivatives, perpetuals, etc., because the fact that we're also seeing real clear product market fit there. I think across some of the more decentralized, call it tokenization platforms, there's some interest there as well. So things that will likely have tokens. But I think what we're also seeing is that when the market is as weak as it is right now, and we're seeing the repricing of a lot of these alt tokens as aggressively and as quickly as what's happening now, people don't want to take the risk of not understanding what the market will support, right? And so for a long period of time, when there was called seed or Series A investing in token projects, most of what would happen in the VC landscape would say, okay, well, I think there's some fundamental value here, but I also think on a relative basis to where the market is pricing similar types of projects and what we think the addressable market is, this is the type of valuation that I can give this token. That's just completely upending itself at a time when we've had a lot of tokens that over the last 3-4 months are down 70-80%, right? And so you have to be much more thoughtful around what that valuation is.
I apologize for the audio issue. It is on their end, not ours. This is going to be interesting. We've got 2 more massive events after this as well, so stay with us.
Main themes with PMF, but I think we're also seeing quite a bit of focus on the financial use cases and the traditional equity or private equity type businesses.
Great, thanks, Rob. Jacob, what are you seeing in the market right now, especially being in APAC?
There is a poll. Please vote as well.
So I think a lot of what I'm seeing in the market is somewhat similar to what Alex and Rob are seeing. I'll try and provide a slightly different perspective. So given that there is a little bit more pessimism around the performance of altcoins and tokens, and coupled with the fact that we're seeing a little bit more regulation that's friendly in the US with regards to stablecoins and things with product market fit, we're actually seeing a trend back towards more fundamentals. So metrics that people can measure, whether it's volume, growth, users, revenue generation, and hopefully cash flows back to the business or protocol. And what that essentially means is that those things tend to flow back to equity as opposed to necessarily tokens. And people do that generally in bear markets or at the start of bear markets because they're not necessarily driven by hype. They're not driven by narrative. They're not driven by throwing capital at things that are very hot in the market at the moment. So I think given the stage that we're in the market, given the fact that we also have somewhat regulatory support for seeing better standards, there is actually more things that people can point towards in terms of numbers that they can peg value to. And so at least on the VC side, what we're seeing is that there is a bit more of a focus on fundamentals, maybe more toward equity, and that aligns more with traditional fintech investing. That said, while altcoins and tokens are having a little bit of a negative moment, they still provide something that's quite differentiated necessarily to equity. You know, when you talk about tokens, you're talking about communities, about products that scale on the internet, where people have a lot of belief, where you can really incentivize them with tokens. And they are currently high risk at the moment. So perhaps venture are a little bit scared to tip into those, but ultimately they still give you the reflexive 10, 20, 100x returns that venture is looking for. So ultimately that's where we kind of see where the market is now. But of course, when the market's not looking at things like tokens, that's when you want to have a look at the teams that are really building there, because those could be the next unicorns in the next 2 or 3 years when the market sort of starts to head back in a positive direction.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I mean, a lot of the early products that came out or dApps that came out of just crypto in general was all, bootstrapped with tokens. So it'd be interesting to see where we go in the next couple of years as we try to focus on more and more quality entrepreneurs. Maybe just to dive in a little bit more, Rob, I know there was an article where you wrote stablecoins and the collapse of the legacy payment model. I'd love to dive into just stablecoins a little bit more. We launched RLUSD. See, like where you think it fits in terms of the RLUSD ecosystem, but also the broader payment ecosystem in your mind. Maybe Rob, we can start with you.
Yeah. So I think it's been really interesting about seeing how Ripple has attacked the stablecoin space. Has been that it's really been about bootstrapping, call it these reward use cases, primarily through a lot through acquisition, right? Which I've considered quite smart. So clearly, the Ripple team and the Ripple community have sort of this war chest that they built up over many years and this reputation, and you've had what has been sort of a duopoly in the stablecoin space.
There goes XRP.
Circle and with Tether being the vast majority of the call it the general purpose stablecoin outstanding, and then you have like PYUSD and a little bit of these Paxos coins and RLUSD now kind of bringing up the rear. I think RLUSD is roughly 1.5 billion now, and of the kind of that core group. And what has been a struggle for a lot of different people who are, call it, launching general purpose stablecoins today, US dollar stablecoins, but without and trying to eat into, call it, that duopoly of Tether and Circle, has been how do we go and convince people to use this without, call it, the deep liquidity, the deep on-ramp, off-ramp connectivity, the global acceptance that these others have built over. Tether's been around since 2014, and USDC has been around since 2018. And so I've really enjoyed seeing the they had Road acquisition. I was on the board there and was close to them, and how RLUSD can be used as trading and collateral with what is the second biggest prime broker in the space. What's happened since then with acquisitions of Rail on the payment orchestration side, and on the treasury management acquisition that Ripple made as well, and getting these kind of legacy businesses and improving the technological backend and the software and the infrastructure to be able to put stablecoins in them and making those businesses more efficient is going to be a big part of how I think we take that next wave of stablecoin adoption. And so I'm super excited.
Yes, we are live.
Ripple has been really approaching that. And so
what do you mean sound, Spartan?
It being a bit of a, call it a flywheel or a snowball, where as those traditional businesses can start getting the usage and the issuance going, that liquidity begets liquidity and usage begets usage. Now you can start to get more broadly accepted. But I do think, frankly, that the days of doing what we're seeing some others do, which is, we just pay a bunch of incentives to a bunch of DeFi protocols in hopes that they will hold our stable coins, like those are going away, and those don't have nearly as high of ROI on what is kind of the next wave of fintech and stablecoin adoption. So that's what we're seeing so far on the Ripple side. I think it's still very, very early days. Stablecoin issuance has actually stalled a little bit the last few months. I don't actually think that's surprising. I think a lot of people do, but this is digitally native internet money that moves at the speed of light, and because the velocity of money can be so much higher, you don't actually need the same amount of supply as you would in something like an actual paper dollar. And so I'm very excited about what's happening. And I think 2026 is going to be the year where a lot of these proof of concepts become actual kind of real world adoption for a much broader.
The next session starts in 10 minutes. Flare
Yeah, that's
token is going to be
actually really
live on the show.
interesting. I think fast forward maybe 5 years ago, I wonder if we'll still be using the term stablecoins, right? As it becomes sort of invisible to the end users, especially if they're getting or obfuscated for the users as stable payments get paid to end users. Maybe, a lot of startups coming in, especially when they build on XRP Ledger and where they have stablecoins flowing to XRP Ledger, they ask us for all USD. I'm kind of curious from a VC's lens, which I think is kind of unique to XRP ecosystem, is that there is also XRP. I'm kind of curious how you, from the VC lens, see these two assets coexisting together, and what are sort of the opportunities there?
Yeah.
And maybe. Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Sorry.
Alex or Rob or Jacob, if any of you want to take that?
Yeah, I'll let one of the other guys take it.
Yeah. So I think that's a really interesting question, and I think it's really very dependent on some of the things that Rob was saying, which is as issuance slows down, I think the real opportunity and momentum goes towards stablecoins being more of a wedge, and then you kind of see everything else getting pulled in behind it, right? So payments and treasury are typically the easiest to explain to enterprises and incumbent institutions, with RWAs and collateral being a close second, because all of that stuff maps to existing mental models. And when you couple that with the rest of the stack that Ripple has built out through the acquisitions that Rob was highlighting, I think that it becomes a really powerful flywheel. And I think that that also is a testament to really to the strategy, I think, looking forward of, I think, what Ripple is doing really well, which is on one end, we're making XRP the institutional asset. And that becomes incredibly powerful as kind of a key driver. But then at the same time, this idea of scaling RLUSD through usage and holding through a bifurcated strategy kind of locks that in place. So the bifurcated strategy, as far as I'm concerned, is this: hey, let's take big swings with partnerships of every major company that we're familiar with on the retail side and institutional side, right? From your Walmarts of the world to your consumer products across the landscape, to then further down the stack, which is the developer evangelism. And I think when you have kind of this, hey, we're going to have stablecoins as a wedge, in which stablecoin distribution, it's not just like RLUSD is not just another stablecoin, but it matters where it lives, right? Is it living within payments? Is it in payroll? Is it with remittances? Is it with commerce rails? Is it with integration points like other ERPs? I think that scales really well when you think about distribution clarity. It's like, where are the real channels?
If you want to follow along with the schedule, we've made a website ourselves. Go check it out, and you can see where we are at
really strategically. And then lastly, I would say is the regulatory advantage really has to be utilized. I think RLUSD is being positioned as, hey, we paid the regulatory price at Ripple, and so Now we want to wedge into traditional financial institutions and brokers, as well as these enterprises that I mentioned. And
next is
I think
ETFs
that,
with Grayscale, BitNomo,
that
and
will compress a
Bitwise.
lot of the go-to-market friction further down to developers. So I think that I think it's kind of this this really kind of sharp point by combining both XRP and RLUSD to essentially pave the way for not just institutional adoption, but then obviously all of kind of the use cases underneath it that will pull it along.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting. Especially, I just noticed that you were talking about developer evangelist or evangelism. You know, a lot of what I hear in the past is like, hey, there's not a lot of activity on XRP Ledger or it's a ghost chain. But I think that narrative is definitely changing. And so I'm really curious, like what, the audience here, Alex, Rob, or Jacob, what made you curious and why are you paying to XRP ecosystem right now?
Maybe I'll say a couple of things, and my response will also somewhat respond to the last question, right? So, RLUSD, when you look at how enterprises and people like to spend, consistency and understanding the base currency is important. So people are
Someone says
very
28
familiar
cents
with the
XRP.
USD. It doesn't really fluctuate all that much relative to, let's say, a crypto asset. And so businesses will want to make payments in a USD denominated currency. A stable coin like RLUSD is really great for that. The XRP asset, on the other hand, is, to me at least, the concentration of value accrual to the Ripple ecosystem. The fact that Ripple has been around for many years, that it has made very smart acquisitions, whether it's custody, whether it's brokerage and getting liquidity through Hidden Road, whether it's stablecoin and payment companies, they've used the treasury to be very smart and strategic. I think Rob, you had mentioned this before, but they've been very smart about acquisitions. And what attracts us to that is the fact that if enterprises, companies, institutions want to actually use blockchain rails to facilitate payments, they are going to need a whole set of infrastructure that is not just blockchain infrastructure, but can do a whole lot of other off-chain stuff that enables them to put currency on chain, that enables them to have liquidity to be able to swap things, that enables them to have stablecoin rails. And to me, that's what Ripple, relative to other blockchains, has done pretty well. They've been very strategic with the acquisitions. They've effectively enabled institutions and businesses to do business on the chain. And all of this is important because the ease of doing business is really key to onboarding things. If you look at all the payments historically that have happened on the internet, it's all been relatively seamless because blockchains have always been difficult and hard to use, right? Whether you're a user or whether you're a business. So the fact that Ripple has sort of been very strategic about these things, I think, has been of interest to me, at least.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting because the trend that we're seeing is as these startups come in and build on XRP Ledger, by and large, they are asking for other Ripple products, and it's becoming the space, especially from the institutions or building a financial product, where you can access, blockchain itself, but also some of the other products that can serve the needs of your business. Maybe just zooming in a little bit more on XRP. I know everyone's talked about tokenization, payments being strong use cases. In the just looking ahead in the next maybe 1 year, 2 year, what are some of the use cases that you want to see out of the XRP ecosystem that maybe you're not seeing now? Or where do you think, the XRP ecosystem should double down on in terms of use cases? Maybe Rob, I saw you go on mute. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
sure. Happy to take it. Listen, I'm probably a little bit different than the other two guys. We tend to write checks a little bit later stage, and where we've been really focused has been on the things that we think blockchains are really good at, right? And this is inclusive of XRP and XRPL, and but it's also, I think, just more broadly true that blockchains are good ledger systems. They're good at moving, value and money and information. And so we're really focused on financial use cases, and we continue to be. We have been, and we continue to be. And so, getting a really robust, liquidity ecosystem that will allow for a broad set of, trading different types of tokenized assets on chain, that is really important. Like, you need stable coins. Stable coins for payments are really important. But stable coins are in many ways the oil for what can be an on-chain economy that will be inclusive of these like vault products, right? So for instance, I gave a speech at a leadership offsite at one of the largest asset managers in the world about a month ago. And the entire conversation was around that asset manager getting closer to their end user or the end buyer of their product, and doing so in a way through personalization of asset management strategies in on-chain vaults, right? And this is the management of one of the largest companies in the world, right? And but to be able to do that, you can't build that first without building the broader ecosystem that supports tokenization, that supports the liquidity profile needed to swap in and out of different types of assets, without building the potentially the insurance contracts that need to be there, without building this like broad ecosystem that gets everybody comfortable with putting.
I'm excited for the next event, which is all about ETFs, starting in 5 minutes.
I'm really focused, and where we love to see startups is continuing to focus on payments, continuing to focus on DeFi, continuing to focus on tokenization, all the infrastructure that goes into that, and then ways of which to bring much broader levels of assets or types of assets and much deeper liquidity for all those assets on chain.
Love that. Deeper liquidity, more assets. Alex, go ahead. I see you.
Yeah, so similarly, I think finance is a big focus for us, if not the only focus at the moment. Really kind of everything that's happening in the world today, there is a re-architecting of the existing financial system as we know it, obviously with the introduction of digital assets for the last decade plus to AI. And so everything kind of needs to have that, has to go through this evolution. And our goal is to support companies that are a part of that change. It's practically in the name of our firm.
If you want the full schedule, it's on martynlucas.com/XRP.
Kind of
we made this website for you. We're not making any money off the website. Go check it out. It helps you know where we are. I'll give you the link.
To that. But more specifically, right, I think payments is very different from settlement. And I think a lot of times people use those two words synonymously. Where payments is very is effectively peer-to-peer, right? Transferring value from one party to another. Settlement is effectively when the obligation is legally and irrevocably satisfied. And so when we think about settlement, like I think stablecoins goes well beyond just payments and goes into this kind of underlying infrastructure and plumbing associated to everything being settled and at scale, right? In a permissionless, trustless way. And that becomes incredibly powerful when we start thinking about other markets such as trade finance, right? Where there is no payment. Everything is open account credit, where you have 60-day payback periods, right? And if you can turn 60 days into, seconds or minutes of payback, you effectively create this amazing, permissionless capital markets that have so much more design space than what we are familiar with. So that's what I would really urge kind of people to think about. Is on the surface you have kind of obviously the existing structure as we know it, but knowing the limitations that we can now overcome with that, from the yield and the vaults that Rob mentioned to just fundamentally re-architecting how liquidity flows, I think we're still in the early days. So excited to see where that goes.
Definitely in the early days, especially I know you talked about settlement and AI, with X402 out and X402 as a standard allowing different blockchains to settle. I'm just kind of curious, maybe this question is more for Jacob. I know APAC is emerging as the fastest growing region for on-chain crypto activity, at least in 2005 compared to 2024. I think I was reading this Chainalysis report. What's your observation of settlement, especially in the AI space in the APAC region right now?
I think that, AI is a very hot topic right now. It touches so many things, but it's so pervasive in everything we do. Probably half, if not 70% of the folks on this spaces probably use ChatGPT or a competitor to actually enhance what they do. You ask them questions and they basically help improve your workflows over time. How does it dovetail with crypto? That's a big question, right? A lot of projects that to date have come out to say they are crypto AI projects generally tend to be hype driven. The fundamentals don't make a lot of sense because it's too early and it's really difficult for us to assess as well. We have to do it because they could have potentially, reflexive kind of outcomes. But crypto AI at the moment is a very speculative space. One of the sub areas within crypto AI, of course, is agents, right? If you click into a travel website and you want to, and a chatbot appears at the bottom, you want to ask it, hey, how do I travel? How do I get the cheapest ticket to the Bahamas or to the US or halfway across the world? And you're expecting a response from that. Well, what happens if that chatbot then has more context into the preferences that you like, whether you like to travel economy or business, whether you want to do one stops or two stops. And then it also has access to your wallets or your bank accounts and is able to then book that travel and that trip for you. Now, the problem with that aspect of AI agents is that they can't have a bank account right now. No bank is going to underwrite code effectively having access to your bank account and your numbers because you could probably sue them. And there's probably a good case to say that that wasn't you. So the alternative is using either blockchain wallets, blockchain rails, to be able to facilitate those payments. So what we're seeing is like a lot of teams trying to build in that space using payment rails, using blockchains that are tuned for payments, fast, low-cost payments, to be able to empower AI agents and code to effectively transact on your behalf. And so I think what's kind of interesting in that space is a few things. Firstly, blockchains that are very tuned into payments, so meaning low transaction costs, very fast transactions. And then secondly, also have a really good level of security, whether it's talking about the fact that there's somewhat limited smart contract capability. There's no such thing as MEV, which exists in blockchains like Ethereum and Solana. You want to keep it as simple as possible because if code is going to simply use a blockchain to transact and send money on your behalf, you want to minimize any friction, you want to minimize any security threats. And so I really think that where there's at least an area of potential product market fit at the intersection of crypto and AI really is on the payment rail side and powering AI agents because they have no alternatives at the moment to
Yeah.
settle value.
That's really interesting, Jacob. I think the general takeaway from that is it's like play, right? You want to keep playing around with the idea and see if it hits. And that's what we want to encourage all the builders today in the ecosystem. Like, hey, you have an idea, keep playing around with it. We have Alex, Rob, and Jacob here kind of giving a lens of what's going on in the market now and also in the next year or two. Really excited to, again, Jacob, Alex, Rob, thank you so much for your time and dropping some knowledge for the community. And with that, I will hand it over to the next section on growth of regulated XRP investment products.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay, that session has just rounded up. We're going straight to the next session. So what is the next session? Well, it's all on our website we created for you. So that session has just ended, as you can see. Now the next session is live. Growth of regulated XRP investment products. This is what we're looking at. ETFs. We saw ETFs explode. We've got speakers from Grayscale, speakers from BitNormal, speakers from Bitwise, and we've got Addy from Ripple who's going to be moderating this. So this is important because direct ETFs for XRP, the more people that buy an XRP spot ETF, the more easier it is for people to buy in pensions and this and the other and investment managers to advise on it, the lower the supply on exchanges. So this is going to be important. We are waiting for the next speakers to start. We're covering the full XRP community today. If you have just tuned in, for today, we are running a 50% offer on the newsletter. What am I talking about? Well, it's XRP Day. You get access to the top stories every single day, my charts every single day, the deep dives every single day, or every single trading day. You get the £5,000 portfolio challenge that you can get access to. We do basically weekly updates on that. You get the XRP, the only XRP newsletter. Every week we give you full updates on XRP, my charts, my thoughts, all of that. Remember, we bought XRP at 30 cents. We sold it around $3.40. We traded it throughout the bull market as well. Yes, I still hold on to a lot of my spot bag as well. You can message me one-on-one. You can get the financial planning tool app. You can get the chart training course. All is part of the premium plan. There's also a free plan, so don't be put off. There's also a free plan, but today I want to give everyone the opportunity to get it at 50% off. The link is in the live chat, is also in the description. We are waiting for the next event to kick off. Please do share this out to all your XRP group chats, all your XRP holding friends. Let's get this live stream shared out to as many people as possible for their benefit. So remember, let me get rid of this for a second. Remember, if you are a holder of XRP, today is the day you need to be listening in. We've got 3 different sessions. We are currently on the EMEA session. Then we'll be going over to the US session. So stay with us. Right now, we're looking at ETFs. If you're an XRP holder, this is the day you need to listen in, write notes. Are you still bullish on XRP? Is what they said. Back up the reason you bought XRP, or has your thesis changed? This isn't let's get married to a coin and then go to the grave with it. This is the utility of XRP still there? Do I still believe in the coin? And that's why I'm watching this, and I'm hoping to provide you with the best information. Remember, we've created this website for you. This took about 5 hours yesterday, but it's for your benefit. So you can follow along. You can see what the streams are. You can see what's going on in each event. You can see that these have ended. We're now on live on the growth of regulated XRP investments. If you want to see what else is coming up today, you can go to martynlucas.com/XRP. Then we'll go back to the America session. That will start at 6:30 UK time, and then that will be 1:30 p.m. Eastern time. But we've still got the ETF session, and then we've got Flare. Remember Flare token? I'm bullish on Flare token. Then we've got Flare tokens founder also on the X Spaces. So if you are on X, listen to it on Spaces, please do drop the link of this YouTube channel so everyone can come here, share this out. Let me go over to your live chat while we wait for it to start with the next ETF event. I'm not a member, but I've been tuning in for 1 to 2 years. Unfortunately, biometric requirements for Discord. Otherwise, I'll be there as well. So, everyone's can choose to be part or not. Thank you for being a supporter. Subwoofer says, I bought this year and I'm liking it so far. Human Being Liz is here. It can't beat deep dirt cheap. I'm sorry, really. I'm late. No worries, Hong. There's a lot to go through. I think it's Kevin, your name is. There's a lot more to go through. I think the best is yet to come, especially that ending speech with Monica Long, all about XRP and why they care about XRP so much. Is it just XRP? Someone's just commented, is it just XRP and crypto all day? Yes, this is an XRP Community Day. It's only once a year. This is the second time they've done it. So yes, this is going to be focused on XRP Community Day. This is the most important day for XRP. Human Being Lives says Kevin is back. Etc. How bullish, says Charles. BTM line is a fight between feds and crypto, says it's time with the people. Thank you. It's time for the people. I just saw your message on Aviva. Unfortunately, I'm very busy today, so I'll get back to you, but thanks for sharing that. I think we've got the speaker now live. Let's go straight to it.
XRPs that were launched. XRP itself was the fastest spot ETF.
Oh, we've lost him. That's not on our end. That's on their end. Remember, they're having issues on Spaces. We are covering it as we should, which is no issues. Let's go back to comments while we wait for that speaker to come back live. Keeping an eye on it. I'm losing hope and won't sell my car for XRP like some people. Yeah, look, a lot of people bought at $3.40, $3, $2.50, and then they're now looking at it like, why did I buy it? Look, I don't buy when it's that high. I buy when it's probably lower than this. But yeah,
I'll do a quick intro.
I have. Oh, here we go.
Kicked off.
Oh, no,
Ray, you're up first.
Here we go.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me on. I'm Ray. You might see my Twitter handle, Rayscale. I lead product and research at Grayscale. I've been here at Grayscale and in the space since 2018, and I'm lucky enough to have gotten to build this company from about 5 humans to what it is today. And most importantly, I have been long XRP since 2017.
Wow. Grayscale. I've been long on XRP since 2017. Look
Awesome.
at that. I love it.
Over to you, Matt.
Awesome. Happy to be here. Matt Hogan, I'm the Chief Investment Officer at Bitwise. Bitwise is a global crypto asset manager. Very excited to have an XRP ETF out there under the ticker XRP. I've been here since 2018 as well. And before Bitwise, I spent 10 years in the ETF industry, including as CEO of ETF.com. So the intersection of crypto and ETFs is the intersection of my career.
Amazing. And last but not least, Mike, do you want to go next?
Hey, everybody. Thanks for having me here. My name is Michael Dunn. I'm the president of Binomial Exchange and Clearinghouse. We are a U.S. regulated commodities derivative exchange. I have been around probably in the business since late 2016, so I've been around the block for quite some time now. And prior to that, I was a high frequency market maker in the various global commodities exchanges in the world. We specialize in digital asset commodity derivatives. That's we're talking, Bitcoin, XRP, ETH, futures, perpetuals, and options. And we're the only exchange in the United States right now that allows for crypto assets to be used as margin collateral.
Amazing. Let's dive right into the meat of it. So what do you guys think are the broader macro drivers moving markets today? How would you compare this cycle in the context of other cycles and regulated crypto investment products? Matt, why don't you kick us off here?
Great. Yeah, nice big picture question. Look, I think we're broadly in a classic crypto winter. I think the 4-year cycle is entrenched, and people selling ahead of that 4-year cycle have contributed to the downturn. If I think about the slight differences, which I think are instructive between this crypto winter and prior crypto winters, the biggest one is we're not in a rate increasing environment like we were in 2022 and 2018. In fact, I think we're going to be in a pretty aggressive rate reduction environment, despite sort of a narrowing of those expectations today. And I think that will mean in part that this winter will be a little bit shallower and a little bit shorter than prior winters. I think the broad macro economy is doing pretty well. I think there's a general global reflation with strong growth in monetary liquidity in places like China, Japan, and other regions. And I think that'll provide some cushion as well. So a sort of classic crypto winter, but actually with pretty good macro underpinnings, which I think means we're closer to the bottom than the beginning.
Awesome. Mike, do you want to go next?
Yeah, I think, as you guys know, I've kind of been in the business for a long time here, and I've seen a lot of crypto winners and, kind of the boom and bust cycles that we've seen. And the way that we view it here at Binomial is more of a kind of a risk management aspect, right? Prices go up, prices go down, but how they do that and what people are doing to manage those risks, I think is the biggest important key indicator here. I think from a macro level, on a regulatory standpoint, we've seen more clarity with this administration going forward in the United States. I think that has been a huge tailwind for the crypto industry. So I'm excited to see that even in these sort of these temporary price dislocations. But honestly, too, the growth in inflows and open interest and volume on exchanges in the United States has only gone up. And I think that's a really exciting development that I think holds to the strength of the crypto and digital asset industry. I think the key difference that I'm seeing is that we're seeing a migration of both institutional and retail participants moving to regulated exchange venues and investment products. And I think that's a really great thing. I think when we worry about big market downturns, a lot of people have this idea of, well, what's my price risk and then what's my platform risk? And what we like to see is we don't want people to worry about platform risk, which is, hey, if I have my funds or I'm doing trading on this exchange, is it going to go down? For example, a lot of offshore exchanges have had this problem. So I think there are some questions out there about that still that are happening offshore. But what we're seeing is we're seeing more of that come in the US regulated markets so that we can handle this volatility, we can handle this price movement, but people don't have to worry about catastrophic losses from either funds being lost or maybe their trades get unwound without them knowing.
Awesome. And Ray, do you want to jump in?
I do. I agree with all that. Zooming out, Bitcoin has various economic exposure characteristics, and that's what makes it appealing. as an investment asset. So over time, it's a store of value. It also has tech exposure because when we zoom out at the end of the day, it's computer networks. And so for the last year or so, we have seen price action more tightly correlated with tech stocks. There are some challenges that the crypto asset class faces, maybe around clarity and worries about quantum readiness. But from our perspective, the fact that Bitcoin has moved in lockstep with software stocks during this latest sell-off really suggests that the drawdown has a lot more to do with just broad de-risking of growth-oriented portfolios rather than anything that's unique to crypto. And that is a story we've seen play out time and time again. As Matt said, people are watching technicals for what may be the bottom. We are obviously constructive over the longer term, and when we feel that when Bitcoin succeeds, its price return characteristics may eventually look more like gold than growth stocks with lower volatility, lower correlation to equity markets, and lower expected returns. But it's early yet. And, ultimately, we've been doing this a long time and we're not scared of a little vol.
I love that. No one's scared of a little wall. Everyone's seen a few cycles now. I think it's good to see that the macro environment is different. Infrastructure continues to improve. Where we're talking about the length of cycles probably condensing over here. I think just taking us a little forward, what are you seeing today in terms of generic trends in the space, whether it's US or EU or compared to Asia? Particularly around regulated products, and where do you see the market being most robust for XRP? Happy for anyone to jump in and take the question.
Yeah, I can kick it off. So, the last year has been really important in the US. It's been paradigm shifting. We had the approval of the generic listing standards, which ushered in the era of altcoin ETPs in the US. And that's what allowed us to launch the XRP ETF. And so now we have a framework for the criteria around what tokens can become ETPs today. And that's been very meaningful.
Yeah, and I would just add on the global network or nature, it is global, right? Like so we have ETFs in the U.S. and Europe. We're seeing very strong growth in both of those regions. I think APAC is moving in positive directions on crypto, some in regulated products, some outside. But the big picture theme to keep in mind is that sort of this idea of regulated products opening up the institutional investment community to crypto is happening on a global basis, and also that it takes a long period of time. Coming from my ETF background, ETFs tend to scale not over 1 or 2 years, but over 3, 5, and 10. And I think that's going to be the case here in crypto as well. You even take something, we were so excited about the ETF approvals that started 2 years ago, but even Bitcoin ETFs were only recently approved on wirehouse platforms. And we're moving forward to get other assets approved there as well. So this is a long-term trend. It is happening globally. I think the U.S. is probably the leader, but Europe is robust as well. And there are portions of Asia on the regulated product side that are coming along as well, although there's more derivative and offshore activity there on a relative basis than other regions.
And I would just jump back in to build on that. I think to Matt's point, XRP it is a global asset. When we look, we estimate that only about 15% of secondary trading volume last year occurred on US exchanges, and a third of that volume was on Binance and in exchanges all over the world. So, XRP is actually very global.
Wow.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I think what's interesting about the kind of the global marketplace that I was talking about earlier is that, there's a lot of demand for, offshore trading moving onshore in the United States for the reason of, well, access, liquidity, and kind of the robust regulatory standards that we have here. And I think, what's interesting about the commodities derivatives exchange portion of this is that in the United States, it's actually illegal for U.S. citizens to go and trade derivatives offshore unless they're registered as a foreign board of trade. But it's very common for those throughout the world to trade on U.S. exchanges. And I think that's what's an interesting development we've seen is that we've seen a lot of international sort of come to the United States because they are worried about the platform risk offshore. And I think it's since we're dealing with, global commodities now, ultimately, that, people want to kind of custody their assets here. They want to invest in products here because they want that regulatory clarity and that certainty that, the US markets provide. And ultimately, binomial is a big part of. Ray, you highlighted the kind of the general listing standards that came out, which has been a huge improvement, obviously with the ad hoc basis of kind of going one by one. And I'm happy to say that binomial has been a big part of that. And I think, we were the first to list the XRP futures. And so hopefully, both Grayscale and Bitwise used that listing date as a part of getting that over the line. But we're going to continue to do that with, future products and kind of
guys, these are the
Bitcoin,
the ETF issuers, and they're speaking
Amazing.
very
I guess
bullishly.
zooming out and just capturing some of the key themes there. Crypto markets generally traded globally. We've seen with various jurisdictions adopting crypto, the access geographically has increased over time. With the likes of new investment products, whether it's derivatives, whether it's different types of investment products like ETFs and ETPs, access keeps improving over a period of time. I'm wondering what you guys think about the likes of Vanguard opening up retirement accounts as a form of access to allow crypto ETFs. Do you think that brings in a new wave of passive investment? Do you see that growing? Do you still see some challenges? Like, how do you guys view that space and access?
Yeah, sure. I'll jump in here. I mean, all of that is inevitable. I think the right way to think of institutional crypto adoption or its expansion from traditional retail base to a broader segment of the population is a series of successive waves.
XRP
Retirement
looks like
accounts
it's going to go
are
down.
one of those waves. We're still extremely early in that. I don't even think we've begun to feel the impact of that. But over time, I think crypto will have a role in essentially all portfolios. And the persistent bid that you get from retirement accounts will be a major driver. It will drive down volatility and it will, increase price over time. So that's going to happen. It is many years in the future, but there are all these successive waves, right? There is the financial advisor wave, there is the broker dealer wave, there is the endowment wave, there is the sovereign wealth fund wave, there is the central bank wave, there is the retirement wave. These are all moving on their own time schedules, but they're all additive. And importantly, for the people on this call, they're all starting effectively at zero, right? So there's only upside in terms of the growth of crypto and retirement accounts. And I think that's the way to conceive of it, is like a series of successive waves that are slowly building over time.
I agree. I think that, as Matt said, the opportunity is massive. We're basically at zero right now. There's, I think, less than 0.5% of US wealth assets are allocated to crypto, and that includes ETFs and DATs. I think the opportunity is massive as it relates to retirement and tax advantaged accounts because they are very structurally aligned with the return characteristics of crypto. You have a long time horizon, meaningfully appreciated assets. And now we live in a world where crypto is income producing. So, investing in crypto products in an IRA is to me a no-brainer. And I can tell you that I own a lot of my crypto assets in a tax advantaged way.
Yeah, I think that's really exciting, and it's a very exciting development. Even though we're on the commodity side here, I think that having open access and easier access is beneficial for everybody. The way that we look at it is that is mostly around the interplay of kind of the spot ETF side and their ability to be traded in brokerage accounts, versus the kind of the raw commodity side that we support and kind of how they play with they interact with each other. I think that's really important. I think it's maybe every mom and pop doesn't quite understand exactly when they go to execute and buy an ETF where that liquidity is coming from, but ultimately they want to get a good price and they want to be able to not pay a lot to do it. And I think that's a really important part here. And being able to bridge the kind of the ETF world with the commodity world that we have on our side of things, helps price discovery, build liquidity, and ultimately trust in the system that people can kind of
Guys,
get
this
in
is
and out
massive.
as they see fit.
They're essentially saying right now,
liquidity overall.
Right now we're at zero. There's only
Amazing.
upside left.
Riding waves, creating ripples. I guess just shifting gears a little bit. Since launching in mid-November last year, US spot XRP ETFs have surpassed 1.2 billion in assets with consistent net inflows. even during broader market pullbacks. Ray and Matt, do you think since you've launched last year, like what has changed in terms of XRP? How have you seen flows come in on your XRP spot ETFs?
Interesting. Let's see what she
What is
says
some of the
about
thinking
flows
there when
coming in, how much
it
XRP
came to
taken
launching
off
XRP
exchanges.
products?
So for us, XRP is a long-standing, structurally important asset. There is a very strong follower base, and it is, by all extents, a battle-tested blockchain. And it's an asset for which there is clear demand and enthusiasm. And ownership through an ETF allows investors, institutions to own the underlying through a structure on which they can get leverage through their normal channels.
Yeah, I'd absolutely agree with that. It's also an asset that is backed by a blockchain that's really unique, has unique characteristics. And I think when you're early in the development and rollout of a majorly disruptive technology like blockchain, having different approaches is really important. So it's, as Ray mentioned, an asset with staying power, an asset with a really dedicated group of supporters, and a really differentiated technology that it's easy to imagine the real world applications of. And at this stage of blockchain's growth, that's a great product to have, and we're excited to have it in the market.
Wow, that's Bitwise saying that as well.
Amazing. And then Mike, could you tell us a little bit more about how do you think about stablecoins and XRP as margin collateral on various venues and derivative platforms? How does Bitnomial think about it? How do you think about it? What does it mean for traders and institutions, and how they look to trade in the future?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think the important thing that we think about is people have assets on their balance sheet, and they want to put them to use where they can. So, for example, let's talk about DATs for a second. Any XRP DATs are going to have a lot of XRP on their balance sheet. Now, there could be certain things that they want to do with that. They may want to tap into additional financing. They may want to maybe they want to, get into, CapEx spending, something like this. What they're going to be able to do is they're going to be able to need to put that asset down somewhere and do something with it. And I think what we can do here at Bitnomial is that putting down those digital assets to either risk manage, gain leverage is really important. And I think just for the broader ecosystem in general. So think about it this way. For robust lending markets to kind of come into fruition, you need a lot of risk management tools. And what a lot of those financiers and lenders do is they'll take assets and then they'll risk manage them via options or hedging, whatever they want to do. And if you can't do that in a capital efficient way, it becomes very expensive, and ultimately they pass those on to the borrowers themselves. So I think that's what we're trying to do is we're trying to drive down borrowing rates via people being able to put their native collateral at a clearinghouse so that they don't have to, borrow against that and put down dollars, which is very complicated and is very common for the derivatives industry today is just use US dollars. Obviously, you can go OTC, but unfortunately then you have, counterparty risk, and there's ISDAs and all sorts of fun, complicated things and legal agreements you have to get yourself into to be able to achieve that. And so in a centralized, exchange and clearing model that we operate, we're trying to make it as seamless as possible for everyone to use the digital assets that they have to be able to risk manage and get the leverage they need for whatever kind of trading opportunities they need, all the way from speculators, hedgers, to people doing lending and financing, to everybody. On the second part of that is for the stable coins, is I think that we see stable coins take off as just a better method of payment. And I think that there's a contingent from what we have seen on the crypto native side where the abandonment of US dollars to some degree, where you can't move it very quickly. Your bank accounts can get shut down, everything else that we've seen in the past. And so people are really starting to use stable coins, and being able to accept it natively without having to use an on or off ramp is really important. And so, Binomial Exchange is looking to accept RLUSD very shortly as a way for margining and collateralizing trades. And so we're really excited to be on the forefront of that and kind of push this way forward.
Absolutely love to see stable coins on Bitnomial at some point. I think just bring us home into the home stretch and question for everyone, every one of you. What are you most excited to see in the next wave in the larger XRP ecosystem, both from a technical and product perspective? And where do you see participation from retail and institutional investors transitioning into?
Oh, let's listen into this question.
Sure, I'll take a shot from a 30,000 foot view, which is that I think the market doesn't realize how big a deal both stablecoins and tokenization are, and they're going to find out over the next 12 months. And so, seeing XRP build its case on the stablecoin side, seeing it participate in the broader RWA market, I think is going to really open some eyes. So, really excited about that. In terms of how institutions are interacting with that, they are all looking for ways to invest in those trends, particularly with market prices where they are. So I know our team is out talking to investors every day about XRP and its emerging role in those ecosystems. So I'm just excited to see that play out over the next few quarters.
I am as well. And again, we have a strong, vibrant community. I think it generally, from a blockchain and crypto perspective, there's a lot of cases where product market fit has kind of lagged the price sentiment and the narrative. We think that that's going to change over time. You have, as Matt said, a battle tested blockchain that has a real opportunity to capture market share as we see the proliferation of these use cases. And ultimately, I think a lot of the excitement comes just from the demand. So, as we talk to investors around the country, enthusiasts, stakeholders, it's one of the broadest communities, and there are a lot of diehard fans. And the sales team was just telling me that, anecdotally, advisors are constantly asked by their clients about XRP. And in some cases, it's the second most talked about asset in this community behind Bitcoin. So, we're all very excited.
Yeah, same here. I think from Binomial's point of view, I think there's kind of two exciting things that we want to talk about. Is one is obviously supporting more XRP products like options. I think it's be very exciting for people to potentially create different yield strategies with their XRP portfolios and be able to expand kind of and support whatever the blockchain has there in terms of real world assets. Listing those on derivatives on those would be, I think, a really exciting development. But ultimately, stablecoins and specifically RLUSD is a very exciting development. Every day when we talk about clearing and settlement and 24-hour trading, the movement of money is always the biggest problem. I can't tell you how many conversations I have with different with different brokers and banks that are worried about, well, how do we risk manage over the weekend when people are trading but we can't move money. Stablecoin solves this problem, and all the USD does specifically. And so what we would like to see and what we're really pushing for is 24/7 trading and settlement, and stablecoins will be the backbone of that, because as it stands right now, there is no other way to do it. And I think that's going to really push the industry forward, and I think it's going to be a really exciting development that we're happy to be a part of.
All right, amazing. So just to summarize our entire session today, thank you guys for amazing insights. To quickly summarize, not afraid of a little wall. We've seen a lot of cycles. Access continues to improve, whether it's jurisdictional products, different types of instruments. That continues to improve the way users are accessing digital assets today on battle-tested blockchains like XRPL, wide range of use cases. Everything continues to improve. I thoroughly enjoyed our chat today. Thank you, Ray. Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Mike, for joining us. XRP community, I hope you enjoyed this session. Next up is the EMEA Innovation Spotlight. Hang tight. Amazing stuff to follow. Thank you, everyone.
Brilliant.
Thanks for having us on. An honor to get to participate and talk to this community.
100%. Thanks, everyone.
Hey, thanks, everybody.
Brilliant. Okay, one more session left before we go over to Martyn. Martyn's ready to go. One more session left, and it might even be the most exciting, because we're talking about a smaller cryptocurrency here, which I have looked at, I am invested in. What we are looking at is the last session of the morning, and then there's another, and then we start again in about an hour. This is the next session. It's XRP Innovation Spotlight. What we're looking at is Hugo Filton, co-founder and CEO of the Flare Network. I like this guy. I'm excited to hear from him. I like Flare Token and how they work with the XRP blockchain. Let me go back and see if they're ready. No, they are just they've got the music on right now. If you are watching, I've seen that there's 25% of you that are new you can go and grab the newsletter for free. There is a 50% offer, that's the premium plan, but there is a free newsletter as well. So you can get the XRP weekly. We got the first ever XRP newsletter. Go check it out. Click on that link. If you want to participate in the 50% off, it's today only, or you can choose the free. Also, remember that you get all the perks and benefits if you go premium. You get all the portfolio challenges, all the research, when I'm buying, why I'm buying. You get the trading course. You get the net worth tracker. All of that shortly will be with you. You get the daily newsletter, so go grab it. There is worth getting it for free, and there's also 50% off as well. There's only 5 available today. We are waiting for the last session, then it's over to Martyn, then we'll be back with the Americas session. Monica Long coming in, telling us all about XRP as well. So Flare is up next. I also want to tell you they are doing an XRP merch drop. Not us, but the Ripple is. I'm going to try and post it in the Substack community page, how to get it. It's going to sell out fast. I'll give you guys a website and give you an alert as soon as it comes out. If you are a premium member of the newsletter, I will be hopefully messaging you as that comes out. It'll be very hard to get one, but it's worth giving it a go. I imagine that will be coming out in the next hour and a half. So if you do want to get the link for that as well, you can sign up to the newsletter, or you can keep an eye on their X's as well. It will just be too much for me to try and do it for all the live audience. So I'll post it on the Substack community page. And I think it's free as well. The way they're doing it, they're giving you a promo code so you can get the free merch. It's limited. Not ours, it's theirs, but I just want to I know a lot of people will try and grab that. I might try and grab it. Maybe we'll do a giveaway. We'll see. Let's see if I can manage to get it, but I think it's in about an hour. The XRP merch officially from Ripple, potentially signed by Brad Garlinghouse. Anyway, that's just a side note. I saw someone message me, so I'm doing that now. We have just got Brad Garlinghouse calling it a North Star for Ripple. Remember, XRP is the North Star for Ripple. We've just had the ETF session there. Everyone, essentially, the verdict is we are currently at zero. There is only upside. We've only just opened these doors for ETFs. Now advisors, now retirement funds, now all sorts of funds can start buying the ETFs, and we're just at the beginning. So that was another great session. Now over to Hugo. Hugo, I can see he's waiting in the green room for XRP Community. He's a co-founder of Flare Network. I do like Flare. It has been battered right now, price action wise, but that was what was expected. I've always told you about my plan for the bull market and bear market. I know that these other altcoins will get battered, and there's certain levels I'll buy them at. But yeah, I might be looking to buy some more Flare. Let's see what Hugo says today on the last event of the EMEA session of the XRP Community Day. And then I think in about, I'd say about 25 minutes time, we'll be going over to Martyn. Let me make sure that no one's speaking yet. If you want the full schedule, I put this website together for you guys. It took 5 hours, so I hope you enjoy it. It's just to keep you knowing what's going on when the session starts. So we're looking at Flare Network next. And then we're going over to Martyn, who will be live in about 25, 30 minutes time as soon as this last event in the morning finishes. But we're not done. We will be back very shortly after for the America session. And then after that, we'll be back for the APAC session as well. So a lot more to come. If you're an XRP holder, you want to be stay tuned throughout the whole day. You can't be an XRP holder without understanding what's going on in the background. Let me keep an eye on this as well. No, they're still playing music. I'll go over to live chat. And Sensei, do you work from home? Well, I've got several things I do. Sometimes I work from home. I'm in the studios, in the shed, if you want to put it that way. But yeah, if I work from London, I work from many different places. But yeah, the studio where I'm based when I do the YouTube shows is at home. Flare, yes, says Yolanda. Yes. Who's excited about Flare? Yes or no in the chat. Do you hold Flare? Are you excited about Flare? Yes or no in the chat, please. I want to see if everyone's excited about the last event of this session, Flare token, alongside Ripple. Yes or no? Flat, says Yolanda. Kevin says, Sensei, I think you should talk a little on XRP show. Yeah, I'd love to go on their show, but right now, the best thing to do is host this event for you guys. Remember, it's all about you, the people watching. Generational wealth is the name of the game. RoPro says it's amazing to watch how they scare out retail by implementing new IMF neutral currency. Let's see who makes it to the end. I am covering all your. I am watching all your conversations happen as well, so I'm not missing any comments. 24/7 trading, that'll be massive. Yes, tokenization, as I said in the last one, people are not prepared. In the next 12 months, they'll see how big tokenization is going to be. What's Flair's ticker symbol? FT. Flair FLR, I think. Flair FLR. Yeah, FLR USD. Flair. Sir James says, what was Martyn's hope behind the Green Day? Was it a special guest TA or well, we will see. Martyn will be back live in about, I think this is slightly delayed, so I think Martyn will be live in about 20 minutes, so stay with us and then you can ask him there. I'm sure he'll give you an update. Human Being List says, I buy now, can't effort to buy at that price. Yes, hold or flare. Yes, who's a hold or flare? Why is no one answering the question? Yes or no? Are you a hold or flare? Are you even excited about flare? I want to say yes or no. Sensei is in the next level. He works from space, says Spartan. Christian says, okay, I'm just not understanding Martyn. He said he knew of an upswing for XRP and it's just gone down, as in it would be a green day. Martyn will be live right after this, so I'm sure he'll give you an update. Unfortunately, I didn't manage to watch Martyn's show this morning, so I can't comment on it. Human Being List says XLM HBAR I own 2. Andrew says, yes, I hold Flare. Not on Robinhood, says Terry. It's not on Robinhood. Yes, it's a smaller market cap. Not on Robinhood. Yes, I hold, but have not been excited. Yeah, well, because it's gone down. That's why you're not excited. I like to buy at these levels. I like the project, so I'll probably buy some more. Let's see what Hugo says. Beachfront Java says, yes, I've held it since it was referred as a Spark token. Yes, I think I've held it since XRP holders got, I think 2020, they did a snapshot or whatever, and then they gave you Flare token. I've been holding since and buying since. Dalish says, nope. Yolanda says, yes. It's time with the people says, we don't know it. Great job today, says Eric. Thank you so much, Eric. We're trying to bring you the stream because they're not doing the best job on X. So hopefully, in this sense, you can talk to the community, you can see the events, I can give some analysis. If you enjoy it, subscribe, check out the newsletter as well. If no one's got the newsletter yet, we're doing 50% off today only. So go and check the newsletter out. Yes, I think we delayed the second portfolio challenge just because of XRP Community today, getting ready for that. So I imagine tomorrow we'll be releasing the second buys in the £5,000 portfolio challenge. Again, it's not financial advice, it's just my journal, my full research. So that'll be exciting. A negative on Flare, don't own, sir. Road Pro says, how are you feeling about all of this, Sensei? I'm feeling fine. There's not been a major announcement yet, but the Aviva announcement was massive. If I take you over here, we're still waiting for the community to start again. The Aviva announcement was pretty big. Aviva investors seek to tokenize the products on the XRP ledger in collaboration with Ripple. That was a major unexpected announcement, which was quite big. We had reaffirmation from the ETF issuers about, let me go back to our own website so we can see all the events that we've done today. The era of capital markets, Brad was super bullish. He called it the North Star for Ripple XRP is. He kept saying how great XRP is and how he expects it to go up. We then saw tokenized finance on XRPL. We saw the surprise guest, which was Aviva. Again, that was massive. Funding the XRP ecosystem. That one was probably the dullest event of the day, but it's all about the boring developer stuff, which is great, but again, anyway, growth of regulated XRP. So that was the ETFs we just heard about. That was massive. Again, we had BitNomal there, Bitwise there. We had Grayscale there, all super bullish, saying this is basically the beginning. Now we're going over to XRP Innovation Spotlight. Let's listen into Hugo from Flare. They will be ready to kick off any second now. You can see our schedule has been spot on, so hopefully it's helped you guys. You can see that we're saying that starts in 2 minutes time. That should be correct. I think at the top you can see when the next event starts as well, if that's still working. Let me zoom out a bit. Yeah, it's all live right now. Then we'll be going to America. So remember, this was just the beginning session. We're going to be going over to the America session, which will start at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. GMT, right after Martyn's show that will be starting in about 20 minutes time. Let's go back here, waiting. We are looking at the XRP chart as well. If I go over here and go to the XRP chart, you can see right now we're at 135. We broke support at 134. Remember, all day I've been saying 138. Above it, I'm bullish. Below it, I'm bearish. And just because I'm bearish doesn't mean I'm bearish on XRP as a whole. It just means I expect lower targets. I put all my targets in today's newsletter. So if you've got the newsletter, go down to below the deep dive section, the chart of the day, I told you what levels I'm looking to accumulate more at. Whether we normally get a buy the rumor, sell the news. So that was the initial pump we had into the event. And now it's selling the news. If there is a major announcement coming later on today, then it will be good price action. But the main thing is, again, it's not all about what happens today. It's about, is there going to be good news? How much great news is there about XRP? Because that won't be important today. It will be important tomorrow. And when I say tomorrow, I don't mean actually tomorrow. I mean this year. I think my base case is we've hit a level. We've got a lot of liquidations, leverage flushed out. We hit our 200-day moving 200-week moving average, the level that I bought, 113, 114, all of those levels we bought. I expected this bounce. The bounce is now selling off. At some point later, maybe in May, March, May, we'll have that secondary flush down lower to $1. Then maybe in October, a final flush out. I think we'll get the lows this year. I think XRP will go below $1. But if the news is good from today's XRP community event, I don't care about today's price action. I'm not looking to sell today. I'm looking for $5, $10. So what's important is now I get the good news, and I'll give you my final verdict at the end of the day. If I am bullish on XRP and the utility of XRP, and there's no better day to analyze that than today on the XRP Community Day, then that will determine how much am I buying when it goes lower, and where do I think XRP's price action will be going in the future. And that's the same with any investor, the ones with big money. So that's what I'll be analyzing. I don't really care about today's price action. We'll be covering it, and it'll be important to see how the market reacts to certain news stories, because again, I don't care about today, but the way the market reacts today will give me an indication about the future. So I'm taking all of this information in, not just to make a quick profit today, but because the data we analyze and the news we get today will have an effect on how much I buy, how low I think it's going to go, and where I think it's going to go in the next bull market. Here we go. I just seen someone take their speaker off. It looks like the next session started. Hit that like button, subscribe, share that out, check out the 50% offer on the newsletter.
Something that
as well.
I am extremely passionate about. So happy to be here. I really appreciate Ripple, the team at Ripple X, and the team at XRPL Commons for making this entire day possible. But here we are going to highlight some projects that are interacting and developing different products and networks that are interacting with the XRP ledger, and of course a couple of them that I myself am very passionate about. Get to moderate today as well with my my co-moderator Zophie, and so there's just I hope everybody enjoys this as much as I know I will, and I'm happy to be here. Sophie, go ahead, please jump in.
Hi everyone, I hope you can hear me well. Really excited to be here and co-moderating the session with you, Death Ranger. So my name is Jofi, and I'm leading community engagement at XRPL Commons. Just a few words about Commons in case you don't know about us yet. We support builders on the XRP ledger through free development trainings and through our incubator program, the Aquarium, where we are currently running our 8th cohort focused on social impact, with founders participating literally from all over the world. And we are also hosting regular builder office hours where developers can get technical support who are building
Guys, I'm
on the
still going to be
XRP
listening,
ledger.
but I quickly need to go to the toilet. I apologize.
Tomorrow. So if you want to tune in, you can follow us at XRPL_Commons to stay updated. But without further ado, let's get into today's session. So we are focusing on projects expanding real XRP utility, how this will work exactly. So in the first 30 minutes, we will hear from 3 projects, and then we will open the mic for other ecosystem projects to share briefly what they are working on. So let's kick it off with Robert, CEO of Zaman, which you already might be familiar with, but Zaman is one of the most widely used self-custody wallets in the XRP ecosystem. So hi, Robert. And my first question to you is, when people utilize Zaman, what do they exactly use XRP for? what does real usage look like, and if you can also share maybe some examples and statistics.
Yes, thank you. I also hope everybody is having a nice XRP community today. And also thank you to Ripple for putting this together. So I'll share some context with numbers before I jump into the question. So Saman's been around for over 5 years now. There's never been a security breach. And we're kind of like this standalone product in the XRP ecosystem that everybody kind of knows or everybody uses, etc. Our users manage 1.5 million wallets, which hold over 2.1 billion XRP collectively. So those are some of the baseline numbers. Last year, we averaged 280,000 monthly average users, peaking around 400,000. And when people use Saman for XRP, we've seen it for every single year. Payments, so sending, receiving XRP, that's by far the biggest use case and takes the biggest share of transactions. And we're also seeing a big shift in what's happening in our XApp ecosystem. So for people who aren't aware, in the traditional crypto term is decentralized apps. In Saman, we have XApps, so Saman X XRP apps. And you're able to engage with the ecosystem in the wallet without needing to leave the wallet. And we're seeing a very big uptrend for DeFi that started last year, and it's still continuing. To give some numbers around that as well, then last year XApps were opened more than 10 million times. And another one that was mentioned in the earlier sessions, etc. The one is that we might be in a crypto winter. The one thing that I love the XRP audience for is that, and what we also see from our data is that people stay on the chain. There's a lot of activity with those DeFi products going into RLUSD, etc. On off-ramping volumes, like off-ramping volumes aren't spiking. So people really like to stay on chain and they like to interact with the XRP ledger. And Saman for more than 5 years has been the place to do it.
That's very impressive. And you touched on this a bit, but can you expand a bit more about maybe the user behavior change you're seeing as XRP expands beyond payments?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've seen some great amendments in the past years, and I think there are still some in the pipeline and some up for voting. The big shift that happened in 2025 was yield products started popping up, and that's been a question that our audience has asked us for. I mean, for
Bear with us. Let me just check this. Let me leave and join again.
since again, with what I earlier pointed out, that people tend to stay on chain, they don't really want to leave from their XRP positions. So the logical thing to do is, how can I earn yield with my XRP? So 2025, for some reason, was the year that different projects started popping up and trying to breach that cap and trying to bring an answer to that. So I think that's the big one, other than payments. And I also think that as the ecosystem grows, the DEX is becoming more and more liquid and more interesting assets are popping up. I think RLUSD is a big one. And I think our user behavior, by far the biggest change in the past year and still continuing, was again yield products. People want yield and they're voting with their money.
That that is really interesting, and of course, like yield being something that has just been something that has been being talked about in the ecosystem and the community for a long time, and is only being more of a popular topic. From you guys in Zaman, what are you guys doing to position yourself so that you can garner the greatest opportunities for those who would be interacting and utilizing the wallet to interact with these yield
Yeah,
products?
that's a great question. I personally have the experience of working together with both my co-speakers, so Hugo from Flare and fig as well. Again, from Saman's point of view, we are kind of like the signing layer for the ecosystem. And if people are using the XRP ledger, then most likely they're using Saman. So we are working quite closely together with all of the yield platforms.
Here goes XRP.
For example, Saman 5.0 introduced virtual assets that was targeted for Flare's smart accounts. So essentially enabling people to earn yield on their XRP with a few clicks using Flare's technology. So essentially your yield earning XRP will still be displayed on your home screen. We're making that user experience a lot smoother for users who are looking for those yield opportunities, in a sense that you can literally access these yield apps, yield opportunities from your home screen. You don't need to go digging around in the XApp list, etc. We also, again, I mean, the process to get listed into our XApp is quite thorough. So in our feedback rounds, I also think that we've been able to give a lot of great feedback for different yield platforms that has made their product better, made our user experience more smoother. And I think in the end, everybody wins.
100%. I couldn't agree more. And of course, Zaman being a project and a wallet that I've utilized for many years myself, super passionate about. I really appreciate you being able to come up and speak to us today about the products you guys are building over there. I'd really like it to go over actually to Hugo. And Hugo, thank you very much for being here today. Flare, of course, arguably, in my own opinion, the largest layer 2 interoperable network interacting with the XRP ecosystem today. And of course, you know, FXRP being something that's highlighted as this wrapped version of XRP being utilized on the Flare
Here we
network.
go, all about
You know,
Flare.
you guys have released a lot of updates and a lot of changes recently trying to, you know, this promote this FXRP and this ability to lend and borrow this the XRP on the Flare network. You know, from you guys, what is it that people should really understand that the Flare network is providing for XRP and the XRP Ledger ecosystem? And you know, some of the things that you guys have explored from an ability to have a smooth interoperable experience occur.
Hi, hope you can hear me. Thanks so much for having me, and thank you to Ripple for putting this day together. So, you know, let's just frame Flare because there are a lot of listeners, some of whom may not be familiar with Flare. So, Flare is an institutionally focused smart chain where XRP can interact with both DeFi primitives and TradFi use cases that aren't available directly on the XRP ledger. Think of Flare as working hand in glove with XRP and giving additional huge utility to both XRP and, most importantly, the XRPL. So, you know, right now on Flare, you know, we have lending protocols, both more traditional lending protocols like a compound fork, which is called Kinetic. And recently, in the last couple of weeks, we have Mystic powered by Morpho, which is a newer modular lending protocol with isolated risk. This is the type of lending protocol that is favored by institutions. With DEXs for liquidity and both liquidity and, most importantly, the ability to liquidate lending positions. We have Enosis's CDP product protocol, which allows people to directly mint stablecoins against an XRP holding. And we have perps, DEXs, and prediction markets. And these are kind of core building blocks around how we think about making XRP have yield and be a collateral asset. So those are the core building blocks, and these type of building blocks are present in most ecosystems. But then we have Firelight, which is a new foundational DeFi primitive built to benefit the entire space using XRP. And it offers the ability to stake your XRP to earn yield by providing cover to blue chip DeFi protocols across many chains. And this is a market with a vast potential size, and it offers organic on-chain yield for XRP. So Firelight, in existing on Flare, will further propel our ecosystem through driving demand for XRP and demand for borrowing and lending against XRP in order to participate in Firelight. So it's kind of like a core plank to how we think about spinning up the kind of demand flywheel for XRP. So to tie this ecosystem together, we also have on-chain vaults that allow users to put their XRP to work within the Flare ecosystem without having to directly engage with the DeFi protocols themselves. And looking ahead, we have two really interesting things. The first is, as Robert said, smart accounts, of which Zaman is one of the first partners. And this will allow XRP users to access Flare by making transactions directly on the XRPL. No need to touch Flare. So this will make using Flare's ecosystem feel like using XRPL. And there'll be no other smart chain in any ecosystem that we are aware of that will feel as native as using Flare with XRPL. So it's a great UI improvement. We'll be starting with, one, maybe 2-click yield solutions directly on XRPL with smart accounts. These make a transaction on the XRPL, and the intention of that transaction is then autonomously executed on Flare using Flare's data protocols. We'll then be building out further functionality over time so that Flare's full suite of powerful functions can be used with XRP, giving sort of practically native functionality. And this will drive transaction activity on the XRPL itself. And as we support more functionality, it'll actually give XRP more to do. And then really the second thing, which is, I think, really much bigger, is that Flare is building a compute layer together with something called protocol managed wallets. Those protocol managed wallets manage assets on the XRP ledger, not just XRP, potentially any issued asset on the XRP ledger. And this combines it with hugely scalable and private compute environment for both XRP and issued XRP ledger assets. And I think it's important for people to understand there's been a lot of conversation today about tokenization. And Ripple is leading the charge in tokenization and putting that on the XRPL. And the question is, once you have all these tokenized assets, what can you do with them? Well, really, what we're building with the compute layer and with protocol managed wallets, you can build any institutional or crypto-focused use case. So what we're building with our compute layer and what we define as Flare 2.0, it won't just let XRP do more, it'll let the XRP ledger itself do more without having to do any protocol changes. So from the XRP ledger's perspective and Ripple's perspective, they're able to offer tokenization with private compute, i.e. the ability to transact between parties in complex manners privately without having to touch the XRPL code. And this puts them straight to the head of the queue on where to tokenize.
Wow, that is incredible. I hope everybody in this space, if not, didn't get to comprehend that, everything you had just said, goes back and listens to that, because incredible things that you guys are building for the XRP Ledger ecosystem. And thinking about, of course, there's tokenized assets that exist on the XRP Ledger. Could you see those types of assets also interacting with these lending markets and through partners like this Morpho and Mystic partnership that has been made?
So absolutely. I mean, our goal is to essentially offer the XRP first, and then the XRPL, effectively a full smart chain with seamless interaction through smart accounts. And then to go a little further than that, because Flare is a blockchain, but when we have our compute environment, we can do quite exciting things with those assets in private. And that's absolutely critical for institutional use cases. So what I see is a Flare as being extremely complementary to Ripple and the XRPL's efforts to push tokenization, to really bring the TradFi world onto new rails, with Flare effectively being an outlet for all of that, once you have the assets in place and those are on the XRPL, what do you do with them? Blair is a good answer for that.
I really appreciate you for coming up today, Hugo, and sharing some of your time. I, of course, a lover of the Flare Network and all of the people we have up here as panelists so far, but it's incredible to hear all of the things that are being built to support the XRP ledger, XRP, and the ecosystem around it.
Yes, thank you,
Why
Hugo,
someone talk
for
about
sharing
pants?
your
I'm wearing
experience and
trousers. What's going
also
on?
like all the amazing possibilities that Flare opens up for the XRP ledger. And now let's also turn to Fig, our third speaker of today, who is the co-founder of Squid Router. Squid Router focuses on cross-chain liquidity and making assets usable across ecosystems. So essentially what it allows is for users to swap and bridge any token across over 100 blockchains, including XRP and the XRPL EVM. Hi, Fig. Nice to have you here.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Super excited to be here.
I feel like you're one of the best people to talk about interoperability. And yeah, I guess in the context of this, to you, why does cross-chain access matter for the XRP right now?
Yeah, I think it's a really good time for cross-chain because crypto is just getting so much real adoption, and XRP is like leading that, of course, with institutions. But there's so much adoption on other ecosystems as well, and I think access is probably the most important part for building relationships, business relationships, users, everyone who wants to access the XRP ledger from a blockchain like Solana, Ethereum, even Bitcoin, and some of the other less used blockchains is cross-chain. You need to be able to access it in one click. XRP is a top 5 asset in crypto. We've got RLUSD coming up, probably the safest stablecoin in the entire crypto ecosystem. And if the XRP community wants to like drive adoption to these two assets and everything else that's being built on XRPL, we need really good open trade routes with the other blockchains. And you could see this in a competitive way where, you know, we want XRP to be the only blockchain, XRPL. But I think, you know, we've seen time and time again over the course of history that free markets like are a positive something for everyone. And, you know, the innovation and adoption of crypto happening on other chains can actually drive more adoption and innovation on the XRP ledger as well. And it's like cross-chain, that's the missing link there, like being able to bring those innovations across and let users traverse the ecosystem and adopt XRP's tech.
And super cool, right? I mean, you know, thinking about interoperability and being able to interact with other networks and expand this XRPL ecosystem is truly a highlight. And you and your team, you guys have been building some great things. The thought of putting this into practice, right? Could you briefly maybe walk us through, right? How does Squid Router actually connect all of these networks and that seamless interaction that occurs through that?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll go through some examples. So, I mean, the first really simple example is where the official, with Axelar, bridge for XRP between the sidechain, the XRPL sidechain, and the main ledger. So you can use Squid to, if you have XRP on XRPL, you can go to our application, or if you're a developer, you can use our API to transfer that XRP over to the sidechain where there's an EVM environment and, you know, building ecosystem of apps over there. But then Squid actually supports 100 chains, and we support tens of thousands of tokens. So if you're a user on Solana and you've been trading meme coins, but now you want to do something a little bit less risky, you can swap your Solana over to RLUSD. We don't actually support RLUSD just yet, but we will soon. You can swap it over to RLUSD, hopefully invest in a yield product on XRPL, and we've got lending coming soon on the ledger. So like really excited for all of these products to come up. And then lastly, if you're an institution who issues assets, you know, these huge institutions like BlackRock and Securitize, and, you know, the list goes on, they often issue assets on multiple chains. So if they've issued an asset on Ethereum and they also want to issue it on XRPL, then our technology allows sort of a combination of off-chain and on-chain logic to happen, where these asset issuers are actually off-chain. You know, they're institutions, and our protocol allows market makers to KYB, you know, like on board with these institutions and allow the issuing, minting, and burning of these assets, and then the market makers also plug into Squid, and you can move these assets, say from Ethereum to XRPL and back. So our protocol's, you know, fully decentralized and non-custodial. So we don't ever have to. We never take control of users' funds, and that really helps distribution. Like we can offer the protocol. Well, it runs autonomously, so it can be accessed from any jurisdiction, and then we can pick and choose places where, you know, market makers work with institutions to do cross-chain activity. I'll stop there. It's getting a bit technical.
Yeah, speaking of technical, actually, I found it super cool when I was looking through your site that you have something that's called Squid School, where you explain like highly technical topics in super easy terms. So I was wondering, what's your goal with this platform? Is this something that's going to grow as well? Because I found it super interesting.
Yeah, thanks, Sophie. Yeah, we put so much effort into that. When we launched an XRPL, I think we did 32 different XRPL focused tutorials, everything from setting up a wallet to, you know, what is a token, and Squid's always been about access, and that means all the technical things that I was talking about before. But in reality, crypto is a really scary place. It's intimidating, even to people, technical people like me. And we think that access mission, making crypto simple and accessible to, you know, the world, extends all the way through user experience and education. So that's the reason we've invested in Squid School, and it's going to become more and more part of what we do. We break down the products internally at Squid into, you know, we've got different technical products, but Squid School's there as like one of the top 6 things that we work on. So yeah, glad you called that out. Thanks for the words.
Fantastic. Really glad to see that growing as well. I think without further ado, we can jump into the second section of this session. So for projects who are listening to this session, we kindly ask you to request to speak from your corporate handle. And in these 30 minutes, we will try to give the floor to several projects to explain briefly what they are doing, what they are building on the XRP ledger. So I'll just leave a few seconds for projects to join. And we have Anodos here. Hi, Panos.
Welcome up.
Hello, guys. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, doing well. Here we keep building up XRP Community Day.
And I'm glad to have you up here. Of course, another project that I am passionate about in the community, and you know, Panos, yourself and your partner, you guys have been building for many years already. If you would like to go over, you know, Anodos, what you guys are building, and you know where you've started and where you see the future going for you guys, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, personally, I've been in the XRP ecosystem now for over a decade. We started Anodos back in 2023. And since the last XRP Community Day, many things have changed, but our mission remains the same, which is to bring DeFi to the average person. We want to build this front door for mass adoption and the killer consumer app for the XRP ecosystem. And my favorite analogy is always, you know, what Ripple is doing for institutions, Anodos is trying to do for retail and consumers. And we believe that we need to have these powerful features of XRPL accessible to anyone. And we have Anodex, our XRPL DEX interface, which has now evolved into a one-stop shop for all things DeFi on the XRP ledger, which includes like swaps, AMM pools, on-off ramps, bridging, and the Anodos wallet that we launched 2 months ago. and it's XRPL's first passkey-powered wallet, powered by Ripple's Palisade MPC technology, and allows everyone for the first time to create an XRPL account in roughly 10 seconds with their biometrics. We also continue being infrastructure contributors and the UNL validator. We're also currently building a few developer tools like an API infrastructure and a sandbox environment for XRPL developers and the community to be able to experiment with XRPL and also test like new amendments easily. And finally, the main focus for this year is the Anados Neobank, which is the first financial super app and, as we call it, XRPL-powered bank. And this is a completely on-chain and decentralized banking super app that will also bring the first self-custodial card, where people and users will be able to spend XRP and RLUSD in collaboration with Visa. And our end goal is millions of people using XRPL without ever realizing it and bringing this massive on-chain activity. So yeah, we are cooking lots of big things at the moment. And yeah, just make sure you follow us and sign up on the wait list of the Neobank for early access.
Great, thank you so much, Panos. Looking at other projects here, we have Mandla Money. Can you speak? No.
Cool,
Yeah.
great. Thanks, Sophie.
Yes,
Can you hear me?
perfect.
Okay, perfect. Fantastic. Good evening, everybody. My name is Julian. I am one of the founders at Mandla Money, based in Cape Town, South Africa. And what we are building is a stablecoin platform that allows people to send and receive stablecoins to cell numbers, so via WhatsApp and via SMS. I think we can think of this as, sending money using Apple Pay, except we are doing this using XRP or RLUSD or any stablecoin issued on the XRP ledger to a receiver's cell phone number. So that's at the heart of the stablecoin platform. What we've recently added is a capability to allow for bulk payments. So this would be, if you have maybe a government that is distributing social grants or welfare, or maybe an NGO that's distributing aid in a civil contingency affected area, they log into a web platform, log in with an XRPL wallet, and then just put in the cell numbers of the recipients and the amount that they need to pay. And then they click on pay, and then that is distributed to these user cell phone numbers. They receive notifications via WhatsApp and SMS, and they can sign up and create a wallet if they don't already have one. And then they can then do peer-to-peer transfers amongst themselves, or they can then cash out through or off-ramp through an exchange or a local off-ramp partner. We like to think of this as the evolution of mobile money in emerging markets. You might be familiar with maybe M-Pesa in Kenya, in East Africa, or other mobile money type of solutions, and this is really now mobile money powered by stable
Guys, we'll be
coins
moving over
on
to
the
Martyn very
on the
shortly.
XRP
Stay with
ledger.
us.
I think for this year, one of our bigger plans is to add payroll capability to this bulk distribution platform, so that instead of just distributing relief aid or social grants, we can also then have gig or remote workers being paid via stable coins to their wallets as well. So that's what we're building, and the idea here is really just to try and address financial inclusion and allow for people to be able to do these micro payments, which are otherwise expensive in emerging markets using traditional payment rails. So yeah, I think in a nutshell, that is us, a B2B2C stablecoin platform, allowing people to send and receive stablecoins to their cell phone numbers.
That was a really interesting thing there that you guys are actually building. Can you delve a little bit deeper into that? So being able to essentially transfer value through what would be a message on a phone.
Yeah, absolutely. So what we do behind the scenes is we generate a wallet for a user that is mapped to their cell phone number. The inspiration for using a platform like WhatsApp is it's easily one of the most used applications in emerging markets from a messaging point of view. So users now don't have to start trying to download a separate app altogether or separate wallet, and they don't think about the complexity of secret keys and all of that. They do have a PIN code that only they know that they use to access the wallet, and an OTP to give these wallets like 10-minute sessions. But the idea here is really to just try and abstract that complexity and allow them to allow users to then just make use of cell phone numbers. I think the parallel, the other inspiration for this is how mobile money in emerging markets currently works, right? So I spent a bit of time in Kenya last year just to try and get immersed into their mobile money ecosystem, and it's the same sort of thing. They make use of mobile money via feature phones, sending funds to one another using their cell phone numbers. And those mobile money platforms are typically operated by mobile network operators. And so for us, we are really just looking at an evolution of that, a paradigm that's familiar to people in emerging markets, and then just bringing in this new form of payment. Maybe I think just my last point there, in an ideal world, there's then no need to actually off ramp if you're using a stable coin that represents a currency that's already accepted within that region, then there wouldn't be a need to off ramp. It's just now down to merchant adoption. Or the other use case would even just be using it as a store of value, right? You want to hedge against your local currency depreciating and want to hold some US dollar stablecoin. Yep. So we have integrated RLUSD as well. So really excited about that.
Thank you so much, Mandla Money, and I'm really excited and curious to see how everything you do evolves also in the Aquarium Incubator program with XRPL Commons. Next up, we also have Axiom here. Hi.
Hi, hello. Can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you perfectly.
Yeah.
Can you share a bit more about what you're building and how you're using the XRP Ledger?
Yeah, sure. Well, thank you, Geoffrey and Defringer for the invitation. And thanks, Ripple, for organizing this event. So I'm Guillaume, co-founder of Axiom Protocol. So recently we launched Axiom. This is the first prediction market in the XRPL ecosystem. It's running on the EVM sidechain. So we went live on January the 19th. And since then, we have been building strong momentum. So a lot of people are speaking about prediction markets right now. And I think that's one of the most powerful narratives in crypto at the moment. In January alone, the two biggest, Polymarket and Kalshi combined, they generated more than 60 billion in volume. So they show that there was a demand for this product, and I don't think it's going to change. So at this point, 6 months ago, we asked ourselves, why doesn't XRPL have its own prediction markets? And that's exactly what we have been building for the last 6 months. So far, we have generated more than 80,000 US dollar in volume with more than 500 users. It's growing week over week, and we can see strong spikes during major events. Like for example, last Sunday there was the Super Bowl, and this was the biggest market we in volume we saw so far on the platform, and we expect many more to come within the year. So in a nutshell, right now on Axiom, you can trade many different markets because we are like XRPL focused and we come from the XRPL community. We have released many XRPL related markets. For example, today we created some markets around what will be the keywords that Boad might say at Community Day. And we also have like a lot of different crypto prices, hourly and daily timeframes. We've got stocks, we've got a lot of different sports like NBA, NFL, and we are going to release UFC next week. So currently we operate as a tiered pari-mutuel model for the market. That means that there is no upfront liquidity required for the user and not for us as well. So it's extremely efficient for bootstrapping the platform, but we expect more to come in the coming month. That's why we are currently working on two different improvements. First is going to be the central limit order book. This is something that is a standard for prediction markets for prediction markets. It's bid-ask trading and continuous price discovery with early exits. So on prediction markets, users need to feel super smooth when they are entering or exiting a market. So that's why we want to add this centrally limit order book with market makers. And also to support this, we are partnering with institutional market makers as to provide an efficient way for people to just trade. Because at the end of the day, what's the difference between different prediction market is the liquidity and the user experience from the users. So we really think that we will be able to bring as much liquidity as we can to the whole XRPL ecosystem through the platform and through professional market makers. And one last thing I want to speak about is ILUSD. Well, we all think that stablecoin is going to be one of the biggest narrative in the coming years. And I mean, when you speak about prediction markets, you really you think you're going to bet through dollars, because when you are going to spot markets, you bet in dollars. When you are betting if it's going up or down, it's going to be dollars. So we really think that this can become the convergence asset for the prediction market and bring a lot of liquidity on the XRPL ecosystem and XRPL EVM. And thanks to Squid, though, we are able to bring many people from the mainnet, from Ethereum. I know we are speaking with Squid, so Solana is going to drop soon, I guess. So Solana user could come on the platform as well. So just to finish, Axiom is live today. If you are a trader, just come, try the market. If you have new ideas for new market, we are always open to exploring new kind of markets. And for market makers, reach out to us, especially as we are moving to CLOB. If you want to partner and like try to enter those markets, we are really open to discuss on that. So yeah, we believe prediction market is going to be the next big thing on XRPL and big narrative on crypto at all. So yeah, we need to be first on that.
Well, thank you so much for speaking about Axiom and what you guys are building over there. We're coming up towards the end of the space. We have about 10, 15 more minutes. We're going to keep.
So what we're going to do now is go over to Martyn. Martyn is live right now. His countdown has just finished. I'm going to be back after Martyn with the main events. This is a slight detour with the developers. We're going to be back with the main events. Monica Long, Stuart Autorati, Evernorth, billions of dollars in XRP. Monica Long as well. So a lot more to come later on today, as well as David Schwartz. We've got the full timetable for you on this website that we've created ourselves. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in into part 1 of today's event. If you haven't got the newsletter yet, it's 50% off. Go do that right now while you can to get all of those premium benefits. There's also a free plan. So stay exactly where you are. This show will take you directly to Martyn. His link is also pinned at the top. Let me give you the link. Martyn is live here right now. And he'll be giving you his thoughts while we wait for the next session to start. As always, until next time, take care of yourselves and each other.